Let's try unplug and see what happens. Twizzy, welcome in. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Solo's in the building. What's going on? I need a glitch check. Is it glitching? Is it glitching? Is it glitching? I need a glitch check. Glitch check 1 2 1 2. No. No. Okay. Real quick. Not yet. So I'm assuming it's TikTok because TikTok's been going through some transitions lately. A lot of updates and shit. Leave it unplugged. That's boring. So boring. All right. Fine. Whatever. That's boring. What's the point of having a mic if you can't use it? We'll test it later. It was working fine in Breeze Live. I was using it in Breeze Live. It was fucking fine. Thank y'all for the likes. I appreciate you. Tiff in the building. If Jay comes up, this will be a telephone. I got it. Okay. All right. All right. Good morning. I got you, 501. I got you. We're just gonna introduce the conversation first, and we'll start letting everybody up. I got you, bro. Not a problem. Not a problem at all. Hold on. Let me.
Hey, your lips are in sync now.
I'm telling you, it was TikTok. Like, TikTok's been acting weird lately.
Oh, I thought I was watching a karate flick.
What up?
You know what's funny? That Saturday used to be karate flick day. They used to get.
I remember that.
I don't know if you're old enough to remember this, but we used to watch 3 karate flicks on Saturdays.
Listen, it was great. Good times. So real quick, before we start letting veterans and their family up, if you know any veterans or any spousal or family members of veterans, active members, all of it, share the live out to them. Share the live out. Share all the if you know of anybody that is of military family, share their live out to them.
Read your text, bro. I got a good one for you.
I know. I just read it.
All right, cool. We'll see if that comes through or not, but that would be crazy.
I mean, we're gonna make it happen.
All right.
We're gonna make it happen. I got you. We gonna handle that with kid gloves.
Perfect.
Yeah, I got you. But I don't think the questions are too strenuous, right? The ones that I have, because
we may not think that.
Right. So, but the one thing that I haven't been doing, guys, and usually I do, is I usually communicate with Hormiga about the things that I'm gonna ask, and the reason why I'm not communicating with him because of the fact he is a veteran. So I'm not for the month. If there's something that comes up in regards to questions in regards to the lives itself, even though he is my co-star, he's also a veteran. So just to give him that surprise moment and not have him already ready for the answer, I kind of want it to be very organic and not, Hormiga time. Because if you give it to him, he'll find the perfect answer for it, and I don't want the perfect answer. I want the real answer.
I want to write that down. If you give it to him, then he'll be prepared. I love that.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want you to be prepared because I know how you are.
You know I shoot from the hip. Let's go.
Absolutely. J Hugs in the building. So we have a veteran in the chat already. So is he still here? Don't know if he's still here or not.
Say it again too. Please, people, share Can you please
Morning, J Hug.
start tapping so that we can have this message go across the board? And please share this to anyone that you think is related, even veterans themselves, but people that are related to veterans, spouses of veterans, have been through the other perspective, you know?
Right. Because we want to give you guys the space for people to understand the things that you've experienced in that process, because that's important. That's important. I don't think people understand. I can also speak from the family perspective as well, because I don't think people understand the dynamics and the amount of it takes to be a part of a military family. It takes a lot. A lot of questions. Your brain goes all over the place. You know, it's a lot. A lot of changes. Noda, welcome in. And we thank you for your services. Absolutely, MJ. For all the veterans that are in here, even for the spouses, we thank you for your service. Because without you guys supporting your family members that are in the service, that are active members, you know what I'm saying? Your faith and your hope for them kept them pushing as well. So don't think that you guys are excluded from this. I'm just saying. J&J in the building, another veteran. Welcome in, Jay. So if you know any veterans, share it out. If you are a spouse, send a request. If you are a spouse, send a request. Do not be scared to come up. This is your space. This is your space. All of it. So if you guys are of military family, whether you're active members, veterans, retired, family, spouse, brother, sister, cousin, you guys are welcome to come up. Because some of these questions, I believe both veterans and the spouses can answer. So definitely, a matter of fact, this is how we started last time. Let's start with Hormiga. Let's start with Hormiga, because I feel like once we start that conversation, people will start being comfortable to come up.
Real quick, before we do that, something that came to me last night. A quick mental note for everyone. When we ask you to share and you find yourself questioning if you want to share this with certain people or not, that might be something that you need to evaluate whether that person should be connected to you on this app, period. That could be a way for you to assess. If you have to question yourself, oh, I don't really want to share it with this person. I really don't want this person to be in the same space as me. Or I don't think this person would be conducive to this conversation. It might be time for you to have a little bit of self-reflection. I'm just saying.
A little bit of self-reflection is a good thing, though. That's huge.
It is, but if you have to question yourself about certain people, then they may not be. It's not me to tell you, who belongs in your life or not. But if you have to continuously question whether or not you can share something, not just this subject, but other subjects, it might be time for you to reevaluate the connection or the attachment to this person.
I agree. I mean, I think everybody needs to go to an evaluation process. Everybody in life deserves an evaluation process at some point in time, right? After a while, because we have friendships and close bonds that are based off of, could be trauma bonds, can be like really dire situations, or just based off of negativity and toxicity. And that's how their connection was created, and that needs to be evaluated as well. So
absolutely,
there's a lot of things that play in that, but I agree 100%.
So with that being said, please, can everybody share this, because this is something that is so important. What you guys are going to hear today is going to definitely give you a different perspective. I can't guarantee that it will change the way people look at things, but we're offering a different perspective for sure, Let
me get relationship coach Chris in here, because I know she wanted to be a part of this. Let me see if she's available. Because last week was amazing.
It was no joke. Ironically, last night I went to a meeting with a nonprofit organization
Hmm.
that was held in a veterans post. You know,
Okay.
veterans do have posts, right? Places where they can go and try to get some help. You know, I realized that these places are good for advocacy, you know, to help veterans to get the resources and the help that they need that they might not know that they have.
Right. And we talked about that last week, right? That
Hmm.
they have veterans do have a lot of resources. They just don't know where to look
The
or who to have.
distribution. Absolutely.
So I think what we're gonna attempt to do, I'm not gonna attempt, I'm gonna try to put my effort to do and make it happen, is to try to find as much resources as possible. Mika, welcome in. If you are available, Mika, and want to come up, this is the space for the spouses and family today. So if you have time, if you don't have any clients and you got time to come up, definitely come up. But yeah, I think that's one thing that we definitely got to do collectively is to see if we can find as many resources as possible, universal resources. I'm gonna say because obviously we all live in different states and stuff, so something that's universal across the board to try to give them some support. Because I think the hardest thing in regards to mental health for veterans is to find someone that can relate to the things that they've experienced. That's like the most difficult thing because it's hard to speak about something that somebody's never really experienced.
Yeah, and I think we tend to underplay the damage that can be done. And most of this damage is absorbed and never released.
Right. Welcome in, Mika.
Hey,
Yeah.
Good morning, sis.
This is gonna be
divine
interesting.
beginnings, brothers. How are you?
We're good. We're good. I'm a little sore from helping my sister move, but that's a different story for another time. I feel it all in my body. I'm telling you. Feel it
Feel it
all.
all in your bones.
Feel it all in my bones.
Not you being sore.
I'm sore as hell. Okay, like I'm sore. So yeah. But we do have a couple questions, right? We got kind of have it separated in regards to different aspects of it, right? Since I have two you guys up here, and I believe that both of you can answer these questions as well as you can anyway, right? We'll start with like a couple of general questions. So the first one being, how has part of the military family shaped your life? Being part of the military family shaped your life. So how has being a part of a military family shaped your life?
Oh man.
Structure, discipline, um, being more philanthropic, I'll put it that way. Knowing how important it is to be available for the community that I live in, and outside of that, I would have to say, in the military, the way it used to be, I'll put it that way. We've been retired since 2015. So we still have a close network of friends that we were together with, and that's like a bond that I don't think will ever be broken. I've seen plenty of couples that have since split since we've all been stationed together here at Shaw, and we still have a network of people that we can rely on for anything. Even with the divorced spouses going separate ways or having married differently or whatever. I think whenever you go through, you get a strong sense of what community is. You get a strong sense of what brother and sisterhood is. You get a strong sense of what family is supposed to be. Those are some of the positive aspects of it. I can say the military can make or break a family depending on how strong the foundation is. Um, I know based off of our experience that I have for my household, um, our son followed Cliff's footsteps and served as well, as a sense of duty for our country. And I think also to pay homage to his father
Mhm.
as well. Um, my husband served over 20 years. And for the better part of that, he was in Afghanistan, Iraq, and other places that I can't name. But he was gone for the betterment of the latter part of the last 10 years of his career. He was pretty much gone,
Right.
and out of that, the downside, a knee replacement, a broken back, fusion between L1, L5, PTSD. Um, he has to have a CPAP. He has some lung issues from burn pits. Um, Definitely, sometimes has those night sweats. But those are things that we've worked through together, you
Right.
know. Um, as a spouse, making sure that he came home to a home and not to problems, holding everything down while he was gone, and even if there were things going on here, not burdening him with those, like wearing the pants of the family, taking care of the household, taking care of everything during those long deployments. And he would come home, be home for 2 3 weeks and be gone again, which is, I guess, the reason why our relationship works so well now, because the beginning of our whole relationship has been with us being kind of apart. So we were used to it.
Right.
But um, it has afforded me the opportunity they paid for part of my education. I was able to get um, a degree and a half from the military, I'll put it that way. Um, they helped pay for that. And to me, that was, setting us up for success. Also with my husband, he's got his degree and helped pay for our daughter's education as well.
Right.
So, there are a lot of benefits, a lot of balance. I'll put it that way. We have more of a balanced relationship when it comes to our experience with the military. That whole, hurry up and waiting, never really being able to make plans. I see that was just a sacrifice so that we could live better later, you know? So I think you get out of it whatever you put into it from a family standpoint, from a spouse's standpoint. I know a lot of spouses who can't deal with the distance.
Yeah. And we're gonna get into that too. We're gonna get into that conversation.
Yeah, but to me, it is giving me structure,
Mhm.
respect, integrity. A lot of the things that I grew up with, that it just reaffirmed those. You know,
Right.
reaffirmed the belief systems that I already had. So marrying someone who embodies and really, I mean, like my husband is an airman and still is an airman to this day, and proud to do what he did. So, and I'm proud of him. And I'm proud of everybody that has served along with him. I'm proud of my brother up here who's given his time I'm sure he's had, he has his own stories. I know each branch of the government, I mean, each branch of the armed services are different. Um, People that I love have served in all branches. So I kind of know people that navies. I know some SEALs. I know some Rangers. I know, you know what I mean? Like I know people who can't tell you what their job title is, but they're part of the Air Force or they're part of the Army, Marines, all of that. The only one I don't really have any contact with or anyone that I know is anyone in the Coast Guard. I've never met anybody who actually served in the Coast Guard. But I even know someone in Space Force. Like our friend's daughter is now a freaking tech sergeant in Space Force, and it's working out for those who actually go in and go in for the right reasons.
Right. I appreciate that because it definitely gave a lot of insight. Everybody's experience is different, right? So you'll probably never get the same story twice. There'll probably be some relatable things, but you'll never hear the same story twice, which is why I'm gonna enjoy kind of doing this. I know it's a tough conversation to have for a lot of people, but I'm big on learning and seeing different perspectives. So, like I said, we tried this before, but we've never tried it for a month. So this is going to be different. Same question to you, Hormiga. I know you're a vet, but you're also a family man as well. So,
all right, you guys.
Oops, sorry.
We were made for this.
How has being a part of a military family shaped your life?
First of all, let me start out by saying that you can recognize a military man immediately if you're looking for it. All right, if you know what to see, you'll know that their mental capacity is very linear. They're not big on thinking. They're more in positioning and doing things
In the building,
consistently.
right?
That's one thing that you will get from a military man, right? Is the way that they handle things. They handle everything the same way. They don't have too much flexibility until they're allowed to go back into the civilian world, right? And for those that spend a lot of time in the military, they're pretty much set on their ways. My story is different because the reason why I went into the military was because I didn't have a pot to piss in. And my son's mother gave me the news. Hey, we're about to have a baby. And I was like, I didn't really have a good job. I didn't have any benefits. I was like, this is nuts for me because I never thought that I would do it. I never had a clue and interest in joining the armed forces. So when I realized that I had to go against my own thoughts and my own interests, that was huge for me.
Right.
Because if you're there, wanting to be there and not wanting to be there plays a huge factor, and it bleeds over into the family dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Because I found myself saying, but I did this for us, but I did this for us, but I did this for us. We talk about mental health all the time, that if you're not a part of the things that you do and you do it for other people, there is a lack of satisfaction and fulfillment. If anything, you get lost in the sauce when you do things for other people, even if it's your family. Some people have this misconception of what sacrifice is. And I want people to understand the word sacrifice, because that word is going to come up a lot, right? When it comes to military, what you sacrifice, right? What a spouse sacrifices, what a spouse has to do to support this person, what a spouse has to endure, how much patience a spouse or family member has to have in order to deal with someone that's very directive. You know, there's pros and cons to it, but again, it bleeds over to the family, and it's very tough, especially if the person that is going through the armed forces doesn't want to be there. You know, there's a lot of people that we heard stories last week when someone had a choice: either go to be incarcerated, right, or go to the military.
Yeah,
I I think that that's a pretty obvious choice, but I've also met people that chose to be incarcerated
right.
because they were from the streets and they were more relatable, and they had the only stories that they had to go by, even though the stories of being in prison were horrible, they rather had went to prison because there were enough stories about prison and not enough stories about going into the armed services. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because they didn't know what to expect. They didn't know what to expect.
Think about that for a moment.
That's that fear of the unknown.
Think about that for a moment. Like, that's how important and how powerful it is where we cannot make the adjustment and are willing to go through those doors that we keep talking about, right? So let's go back to the family dynamic. It's extremely effective, especially with men that have rank in the military. They end up treating their family like if they're their subordinates. They end up expecting their family to respond the same way that the people under them responded to them. That is not, I'm not saying that this is an absolute. I'm not saying that this happens with everyone. But there is a pretty thick chance that you're going to end up treating your family based on your experiences. You know, not everybody sees the torture. Not everybody sees the the things that I've seen. I was already used to it because I was from the streets. I've seen so much violence in the streets, right? I've seen so many things in the streets that the violence in the military didn't bother me.
Right.
But what I didn't know is that I was going to get used to that type of life. And as soon as I got home, I was so desperate to go back. I didn't resonate well with the family life because they weren't giving me the same feeling that I was getting when I was inside.
Like a dopamine. It's like a dopamine rush.
It's kind of like that. It's just that my family was not able to give me what I was receiving from my brothers. Because one thing you must understand is, say what you want about the army, you end up developing a brotherhood with the people that you serve with.
Right.
And it's a bond. And it's not an attachment. It's a connection. Because the real family for a military man is the people that you serve with. They come first. And although we think about our family, some of us say, hey, when we get those letters, right? When we get those letters, because back in the days, we didn't have the communication that we have now, right?
Right.
So when you get those, mail call, they start saying names, they start giving out letters. You don't get a letter. That whole day, until you do get a letter, is ruined. Now you're angry. Now you're frustrated. Now you're left out. Now you feel like you don't have love. Guess what that does? That pushes you deeper into the bond. You end up telling your brothers that family outside of the military is not worth it. On a jealous tip, because it could be jealous, it could be envy, because you end up telling them and setting them up for failure. Like, are you sure your woman's not out there Screwing the middleman. It's a harsh life in the military, and they teach you how to have a thick skin. And when you come home, your family is not challenging enough. I'm gonna say that one more time. Your family is not challenging enough. They do not resonate with you. Some men
Yeah,
come
Lord, I
home, some men
appreciate
come
you.
home and hug their kids.
Right.
It just takes a certain amount of poise to be away from your kid and miss all the most important things about your kid. Not seeing them say their first words, take their first steps. Some men come home for a couple of days and go back, and they can go out for like 5, 6 years and be a total stranger to your family.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know I've watched my brother do it. My brother went to the Navy first before he went to the Army. My nephew was a baby. He didn't even speak his first words before my brother left. You know what I'm saying? So when he finally came back, my nephew was already walking and talking. My nephew was living with us the whole time, God rest his soul. You know what I'm saying? He was living with us. So we watched all the transition. We watched him grow. We watched him do all this stuff. My brother was never there to experience none of that. So the relationship my nephew had with his dad wasn't a dad relationship. He was more like an uncle. Because, you know what I'm saying? Because it was just like he never really built that bond the way that he was supposed to build that bond as a father and a son because he was gone for so long.
It takes a lot. Military men do not switch hats as fast as a civilian.
Yeah.
Military man is, if you can look at it this way, there's 24 hours in a day, 22, 23 hours is military mindset.
Mm.
And they don't switch hats. Sometimes the family members become strangers, and you end up resenting them. And like I said, you come home and you want to get out of there as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And again, you got to understand that the bond, and I'm saying this again because it's important, the bond of brotherhood that's in the military, you're willing to trust this person regardless of what they say. They could be a good soldier. They could be a good part of a brotherhood, but they don't give good advice when it comes to civilian life.
That's very
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
And it hurts me to say this. You gotta excuse me. I'm feeling a little jittery right now,
Take your time.
and I honestly want to get up and kick somebody in the face right now.
Just don't make sure it's not me.
Well, nobody's around, so we're good.
As long as it's not me, because I know you know where I live.
Don't come over here with that
I'm going to
shit.
your house. I'm going to your house.
Okay, don't come down here with that. All right.
Listen, we were well aware of how heavy these lives can get, especially us talking about the military and the family. So, pace yourself.
I tell you this much. All right. So those are some of the cons. Let's talk about some benefits, right?
Yeah.
Military men are no joke, man. They're trained to disregard all the fluffy stuff.
Yeah. Breed up in the building.
They ain't got time for the greasy. They don't have time. They don't have time for it.
Right.
They time management skills are ridiculous. They teach you how to do things in a short amount of time, and they show you how much time is wasted gossiping. They also, the way they train you, they kind of teach you how to frown upon the opposite gender.
Yeah.
So they're very neat. They're very articulate. They like the household to be in order.
Mhm.
They like their clothes clean. They like their shiny apparel shiny. They like their cuts. That's the one reason why they cut people's hair that short, is so that everyone could look the same, right? And have and relate to people. But keeping a military cut is you could recognize a military man, but it's less maintenance. So they teach you how to avoid the things that distract you.
That makes sense.
So military men are not easily distracted, but in the same token, it's hard for them to change or become the person that they need to be for the family dynamic. So I give it to the spouses, I give it to the kids, I give it to the family members. This doesn't happen to everybody, but I give it to those that has stood there and supported their spouses, although they didn't want to during certain times, because I'm pretty sure that even Sis Mika will tell you that there's times that she wanted to grab him by the neck. You know what I'm saying? Because of the way that they react, because of their linear thinking.
Yeah.
But if you stick with them, eventually they will make the adjustment. Unfortunately, not all will make the adjustment. That's what I got for you with that question.
There's still a lot of you got to think about it. Whenever you go into basic training, they break you down. They do what is called behavioral modification. You know, they change the way that you think so that it's not, you know, you don't have any rights at that point in time. Like when you go in there, yes, drill sergeant, no, drill sergeant. You have to literally, you have to ask to go use the bathroom type of stuff, you know? So going from that type of mentality, and I have to say that it's different. Probably, I have to honestly say that the military now is way different than it was 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, 25 years ago, when being enlisted. You know what I mean? Like there was no coddling, there was none of that talking about your feelings, and you know, it was you do as you're told or you have repercussions. There were consequences and repercussions for not following directions, and you did not have an opinion. It was not, that wasn't, it was do as you're told. Am I wrong?
No, you're
And
not.
now
That's
it's
important.
definitely different, which is one of the reasons why my husband retired when he did. He said he can't do this. You know, he's not going to coddle grown ass people who took the same oath that he did, you know,
Right.
to protect and serve. And he's not going to continue to be reprimanded for doing what he was trained to do, which was lead his airmen, you know. And so that is definitely different. I mean, I even see, you know, our people used to have weight requirements. I'm watching people now grossly obese, morbidly obese, walking around in uniforms. That wasn't the norm.
You had to be
Even,
clear.
you know, I mean, like I legitimately, I was in ROTC, JROTC, in Air Force. You know what I mean? That was my game plan. That was what I was doing, you know? And so in high school, I was up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I had to be at JROTC before we had to do everything before we even started. And then I had to go to swim practice after that. So it was, you know, like I had a rigorous schedule even in high school for me. So I had that structure for me then because they prepare you for that somewhat in JROTC and ROTC to have that type of respect so that you be ready whenever you do enlist and you go into whichever branch you're going to go into. But I had to say that, you know, they do not prepare you for that transition very well at all. Just watching it with the people that I've seen transition from being enlisted to being retired, they don't prepare you guys at all for that. You go from having pretty much everything readily available to boom, here you go, good luck. You know, that I would love to see more of a transitional type of program implemented for our veterans so that they have more of a step by step or someone that can actually guide them through it, especially people who are in special forces. You know, you're used to people just bucking up and doing whatever, and then you have some little punk ass person coming up to you telling you, no, I'm not going to do this. And you're so used to people conforming because of you don't see that person. What you see is their rank.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you don't see the color, you don't see their skin. What you see is the rank, and that's how you that mindset is something that is different. You know, and I think I had a different vantage point as a spouse because I already knew what I was getting into before I married. You know what I mean? Like I already knew what to do, but I also was very active as a spouse, as a key spouse. I helped, you know, I worked for our base commander as a key spouse, the key spouse leader of that program on our base. I worked with the commander to make sure that, you know, we had systems in place for those spouses
Mm-hmm.
that couldn't handle while the deployments were going on, you know. And yeah, 9 times out of 10, here at this space, you saw a lot of infidelity. And usually it was the wife or whoever the one that was left behind getting involved with somebody who was here locally. And then all of a sudden, this, you know, this white couple has a half breed kid and they're not trying to figure out what happened because he was deployed when she got pregnant. You know what I mean? And he's coming home thinking that this is his baby, and then the baby comes out black. I've seen this happen too far,
That's
too
crazy.
many. I've seen it happen far too many times here at this base alone. So, you
Yeah.
know, that's not something that people write about. That's some real life stuff that has happened, you know, but also you also hear about the infidelity that happens while they are
Deployed.
deployed, you
Mm-hmm.
know, the
You got, you
relationships
got
that
me
are
on
built
time.
because they're gone. Yeah, I think some of them are gone 9 months to 3 years at a time. That's a long time.
And you're with that person more than you're with your spouse.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
and
then they've developed those relationships.
Mm-hmm.
and the people out there, the citizens of other countries know this, and you can get 2 or 3 women for $4, $4, $5. You can have them, and they line up. Well, I want to share a story with you. I,
Before you
this
do
is
that,
Go
before
ahead.
we do that, we're gonna hold on to that because I want to hear from Sweet Tea relationship
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
before we do that. And then once they answer that, go for it because I want to hear the story because I know you be having some wild stories. Um, the second you even talked about the women and the $4, I already knew it was gonna be a wild. It's something that's gonna be something wild. So go ahead, Sweetie. Same question. How has being a part of a military family shaped your life?
I was listening to when Armika was talking, and being the daughter of a Vietnam vet, especially, growing up, not realizing how incredibly stern my father was. And now that you say it, I understand it a little bit more of speaking down to family members as if they were a lower ranking than someone in the military makes a whole lot of sense. Um, my brother was also in the Air Force, so I had a hard time for a long time trying to differentiate my relationship with my father versus my brother's relationship with my father. I would always understand that they had a special bond, but I didn't realize until I was older why it was so special it was because of the fact that they were both coming from the same circumstances. Although different branches of the military, it was the mentality of the military and how they viewed each other. And it bothered me for a long time, I'm not going to lie, because I would ask my dad about a lot of things, but there wasn't a lot that he spoke about with me. But he would speak about it with my brother. And I was like, I don't know if it's just a guy thing or it's that military bond. So it was very hard for me to understand for a very long time. But as I got older and I grew and understood a little bit more, I'm like, okay, these aren't the things that he thinks or he believes I should be knowing, because it's just their bond coming from their branches of military service. So it was a very difficult thing to understand, but at the same time, it's relatable in a way, because I now understand that they had that bond because they were coming from the same place.
Makes sense. Makes a lot of sense, actually. Go ahead, Coach.
So can I just respond to Sweet Tea for 1 second?
Yeah, go for it.
There's I've realized, because like my husband is very open in talking to me about everything that he goes through, but most of the spouses aren't, but they will talk to another military person because they feel like if I say it to a civilian, first of all, it's something the civilian has never seen, and I might like, if someone's in the military, they already assume that they're a little messed up mentally, right? Because they've been in there and they've done it. So they assume they don't want to mess up that civilian that hasn't had to live it. So they try to keep it away from them. So they're not giving them the burden of what it was to do whatever these actions were. So like my husband has a friend that deployed, and he was way more comfortable talking to my husband when I wasn't in the room about it than he was if I was in the room. And that's how he explained it to me. He didn't want me to have to like imagine or see things that he's gone through because I didn't sign up for that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can only imagine the damage that it can do to a civilian's brain or mental, even hearing certain things, right? Because even for me, because I have friends and I have family that served, and I would ask questions because I feel like my mentality and the way that I was able to handle what was coming in regards to that conversation, right? Until the conversation was had. And then I realized, whoa, I don't think I was really ready. I was curious, but I don't think I prepared myself enough. Or I don't even think it is able to really prepare yourself as a civilian enough to hear what's about to happen and what's about to be said about the experiences that they experienced. I learned that the hard way. I learned that the hard way.
Can you read me the question again, please?
Yeah, of course. How has being a part of a military family shaped your life?
So my family growing up, like all of my grandfathers, my great uncles, everybody was in the military. So like my dad was a firefighter. So growing up, I always was told that, like, first of all, serving your country in some ways is the best thing that anyone can do. And so, and I was taught by my mom what to do when someone you love is away. Because we're from California, so my dad was on strike teams all the time for wildfires in California. And so I've taken that into being a wife of someone in the military, knowing, like, coming up with plans before he deployed on how we're going to stay in touch. And, you know, I've gotten used to moving every 3 to 4 years. But I have to tell you, it's so much different now because, so when I married my husband, we lived on base. And the first neighbor that I spoke to was also a mechanic's wife, because my husband was a mechanic. And she said, "Oh, where's your husband? I want to meet him. And I was like, oh, he's still at work. And she goes, oh, he's a mechanic. And I said, how'd you know? And she goes, oh, they always come home late. And I was like, oh, well, that's nice to know now. And she said they're the hardest working people in the Army because they got to keep everyone moving, right? You can't get anywhere if you don't have a vehicle that can get you there. Not that they're harsh, but they work the longest hours for that.
Mhm.
She's wrong. Drill sergeants work the wildest hours because now that he's a drill sergeant, we also don't live right next to base, but he has to leave around 3:30 in the morning generally and does not come home before 8 o'clock. So what was normal life before he was a drill sergeant is completely different than now because the hours are so significantly different. We had to completely change the way our marriage worked, or else we would just like not see each other.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not typically someone that cooks, but now that he comes home at 8 o'clock, he doesn't have time to cook, so I have to be the cook. And I think as a wife, I have to always be able to adapt to what the Army throws at us. And our little joke is, I'm the side piece and the Army's the wife. Whatever she says goes, and I just have to follow him around because, and he was in the Army before I met him. And the day he became an NCO, he said, I'm sorry for this, but my soldiers have to come first because that's what I'm pledging as an NCO. And I said, okay, that's fun. And he still to this day has soldiers from other places that call him to say, hey, how do I do this? How do I fix this machine, this, vehicle? How do I do that? And that's just, an incredibly proud moment when I'm like, yeah, my husband's the only one that can fix it. Yeah.
I love that though. I love that you guys were able to be, Harmony's gonna like this, flexible in order to kind of change the dynamic of everything because obviously you realize the way that your marriage was before he transitions into his new position wasn't gonna work. It wasn't gonna work, and you guys both realized that, and you guys made that transition together, versus it just being a one of one or one of two type of situation you did together.
Yes.
So I love that. I love that. That kind of gives everybody the perspective of, effective communication, right? Meeting each other halfway, so that way things can change for the better. Versus, you guys being at odds. I'm sure it wasn't an easy transition, right? Nothing about that transition had to be easy, and it was probably a little bit of discussions, like a lot of discussions, probably uncomfortable discussions that needed to be had sometimes in regards to that. So, kind of talk about that. I know in regards to that transition, right?
Yeah.
What were the outside of actually making the transition? What was the biggest challenges you guys faced in making the transition? I got you, Gorilla. I got you, bro.
Well, actually, the funny part is the hardest part is being here. I don't have the good medical that I had at the last place. Like the base medical is fabulous, but my doctors off base are not, and that's adding stress to the situation because, like, how can I support my husband if I'm not doing my best? And so that was the and still is the hardest part of this transition for us.
Mhm.
But we already had it set where, like, from the day we met, which I don't think everyone should do this, but he asked me to be his girlfriend on the day we met. And I said, okay, this is what it entails. And this is how I want a relationship to be. And he said, that sounds fabulous. Because I said, I don't want to fight. I don't want to argue. If you have something that you're upset about, come talk to me. If I have something I'm upset about, I'll come talk to you. And let's just be very honest with each other. So since we've been doing it since the day we met, conversations don't seem hard anymore because we just always are doing them. And so even topics that other people are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you talked to your wife about that. I'm like, oh, I didn't realize other people would find that so difficult because it's just so easy between us. So that's the easy part for us. But have the other outlying, because like you never know which doctor, because I have chronic pain. So my pain management here is where I'm getting the issue. So you never know what your next doctors are going to be like. And they do have a program called EFMP, Exceptional Family Member Program. And if you have something wrong with you medically, you need like medicine or surgeries or blood or whatever it is, please enroll in EFMP if you are a spouse, because it really does help when you're moving. I tried to enroll. We thought I was enrolled. I wasn't. I was like, oh, well, must not be that important. And we would not have been stationed at this particular base had I been enrolled. So definitely enroll if you need to. But yeah, the Army's going to throw so many wild, weird things at you. Like earlier, you guys were talking about talking down like someone's your subordinate. There was one of the relationship people that came to talk to them when they came home from deployment literally said, yeah, my husband used to be a drill sergeant, so I stand at attention, right, babe? At parade rest when he talks, if he's mad at me. And I think that's like a horrible idea. No, don't give into that dynamic that you're his subordinate. Don't play into that fantasy. In my opinion, I think that's a horrible idea. I would never stand at parade rest for my husband, who's now a drill sergeant. Yeah, but so they're getting horrible advice from friends that are in the Army. They're getting horrible advice from the people supposedly teaching them in the Army, relationship-wise, So you have all of that coming home to you as a wife, and all of them. If one of the spouses, one of the husbands or wives that are in say, oh, I'm having this problem with my wife, they will get answers from everybody that should not be answering them.
Right.
And so it has to be the two of you against everything instead of like because that's going to make everything the Army throws at you easy. Like the deployment. Sorry, go ahead.
Do you all have a Key Spouse program?
What?
A Key Spouse program.
Key Spouse program, babe. No, never heard of it. What is that?
It's actually a program where spouses of like your first sergeant on down for NCOs or even for commissioned officers, they have their own key spouses as well. These are spouses that are trained to properly inform and help spouses, especially when they are going on deployment. It's one of the best programs that I've ever seen, but the Air Force has it. It's sad to me that you guys don't have that available, because hearing the advice that you were given, you wouldn't have heard that at one of our debriefings or anything like that. Like we would literally do have meetings with spouses once a week, have events with their families once a month. We had pre-deployment debriefings to let the spouses know, hey, look, this is what to expect when your husband gets home or when your wife gets home. We also made them readily available where if they had any issues, we were that point of contact for their base commander. And I worked with our base commander for those different, like every different squadron had their own key spouses. So, and then you had a head key spouse, and I just so happened to be that for our squadrons that we were under. But, and you work side by side with the first sergeant to make sure that you don't have that type of environment going on where you're getting like wild advice or a whole bunch of people giving you advice that aren't even married half the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's wild.
Yeah. The Army definitely should have that, but they don't. Like when my husband deployed, it's called a deployment. It's on his record as a deployment. It was more like a training exercise because it was when Russia like did their thing and they sent like thousands of people to Germany to like show that we could send thousands of people out like overnight. And so we had less than 2 weeks notice that like they were going to deploy, and nobody said any, like, as a spouse, I didn't even once get a text from anyone other than my husband while they were gone. I didn't get any, hey, how you doing? Hey, what's going on? Hey, do you need any help with anything? Nothing. I didn't get any of that. And while I was okay, I know there was one spouse that they got married weeks before he left, and she didn't even have TRICARE yet, and she couldn't even get on base because she didn't have an ID yet. And I know they didn't take care of her either, and I didn't have the ability. I gave her my number and was like, call me if you need anything. If it's just driving on base, I will take you on base and take you where you need to go. And I know she made friends with another spouse that did that for her, but it wasn't from the unit. It was just, she just happened to be friends with another one of the spouses. So yeah, that would really come in handy, and have to start asking around, seeing if we could get that started.
Yeah, that'd be a great idea. All right, I definitely want to hear from Gorilla King. I know he said he had something he wanted to add on. So go ahead, my brother. Good morning. Welcome in. Yeehaw. Thank you. Appreciate you.
I love you, buddy.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning, my brother. How you feeling?
Feeling good. Sorry, blowing off my porch. I guess that's a military thing. Like my mind starts to hyper focus on things. But my experience, joining the Army, was quite different and unique than most.
Yeah.
Just a quick backstory. Before I joined the Army, I was facing 3 counts of life. I was America's gangster. And this isn't, y'all more than welcome to look up my arrest record, you'll see. But when I got into the military, I jumped up because I heard about basic training, and my experience of basic training coming in was so funny because, my drill sergeant, the minute I got off that cattle truck, said, we have a gangster, and I missed. We have a natural born killer here at basic training. And I didn't know who he was talking about. I was looking for this guy. He had my red folder. At the time, I wasn't married yet, but I was in the process of getting married. I didn't know what to expect. Out of the 100 people that was standing there, I was the only person put up front because they had this red folder. They knew my police record. They know what I was in jail for. I had to walk around with a stick instead of an M16 because my drill sergeant, after basic training, explained to me that he was scared. He just didn't know. So my entire basic training, I was watched. I always had 2 drill sergeants whenever I went to the range for practice. They monitored my phone calls to make sure that I wasn't trying to escape because the U.S. Marshal said I might run. This is my beginning experience. I finally got married at Christmas Exodus to someone I thought would be a great military spouse. After all, she stood beside me for 2.5 years while I was in prison. Only to find out that the latter wasn't true. I wish I had the support like the relationship coach down there. I wish I had the support like, hopefully I don't chop up your name, Elysium. I've never heard of the Key Spouse program. But trust me, I knew what it was like to have an absentee spouse. I knew what it was like to have a spouse that instead of deciding to support me, decided to have multiple children by other men, while I was trying to serve my country and do something better for my life. My first experience of PTSD is where this started. It was the cheating spouse. I didn't have anybody to turn to, didn't have counseling, didn't have the help. Um, and all the spouses that I've seen in my little neighborhood that they put me in, because I wasn't allowed to stay in the barracks at the time, them spouses were cheating too. Um,
Take your time. Take your time.
Basic training, it taught me a lot. I was ready. I was ready because I was raised up by militia-minded people. The majority of my family were Black Panthers and ex-military members. I was always this way. I was always ready. I felt like I was born a soldier because this is how I was brought up. My great aunt was a key member of the Black Panther Party. She raised me. So wearing multiple hats in the military, between the military and then getting into relationships and being married and coming back out the military and trying to function within society, I went in military minded. So when I got out, it wasn't much of a transition. I was just more mature, more adapt to my environment, and a lot stronger than when I originally started. The conversations don't change with my family. And I guess that's one better thing that I have is my mom was Army. My dad was Army. My stepdad was a Marine. My uncle was Army. My aunt was Air Force, but I forgive her.
Don't do us like that.
No. I mean, I always jive with the Air Force, but that's because, I was stationed at Fort Lewis and we had, of course, McCord Air Force Base next to us. We wore combat boots. They had sneakers.
Yeah.
I had a beret. They had a baseball cap. I used to be so jealous. But I got mad love for the Air Force. I got much love for all the services out there. Well,
I have a question. Do you feel like prior to the military, your mindset gave you more discipline and structure after, like, going from when you were locked up to going into the military to being out of the military? Do you feel like being in the military gave you more discipline and structure to where you still have that mindset, but still it's more focused to a different thing?
yeah, it definitely changed it. Before the Air Force, I hated everybody. And violence was always the answer. The military taught me to hone that in. It's not everybody's fault. It's not everybody's problem. I got to be strong. I got to have more discipline. I got to remember the people that are above me, which is my higher ranking officials, and my soldiers beneath me. Not beneath me as in they're lesser, but those that follow me. Every move and every step I make affects everybody. So I thank the military for that. but I had a rough time. I was overweight. I learned how to eat in 5 minutes, and I realized I can't eat everything. And for those of us who was in the weight program in the military, y'all get what I'm saying. Um, for those who are going in, I can't really think of the words I had to say about that, but just be prepared to learn.
Right.
Those who are in now, make sure you mind your medical, your mental, your family, everything. Because coming out, there's a whole new war.
Mm. I didn't think about it that way.
The transition. The transition. Gorilla, when did you enlist? Well, I'm going to say enlist. When did you join the army?
September 24th, 1999.
Did you hear what he just said? You see how the date is embedded in his head? Now, what name did they have for the overweight program at that time?
I don't know. They just called me Fat Boy.
Listen to what he just said.
Hey,
Before we
I don't know
got this
about.
sensitive time, right? We used to call it the Fat Farm.
Yeah.
It was called the Fat Farm. You see how they don't play over there? Like, they frown upon you if you're not in the shape. If you can't run or you can't do the PT in the morning, how do they treat you, Gorilla?
Yeah. Well, like a spot. Trust me, if I picked up a donut, oh boy, that 2 miles turned into 4 miles. They was trying to get that donut back. like, like, come on, man! It didn't even have no sugar on it. Why I gotta run an extra 2 miles?
Somebody wrote it in the chat. Somebody said Weight Management Program, aka Chubby Cheddar Program.
Oh, in the Air Force? Yeah, yeah.
The Chubby Checker program.
Mallory wrote, has anyone tried the VA app? No.
The VA app now, I have it. The VA app now, within the last 3 years, has been updated tremendously. But prior to that, there wasn't really too much information. They keep saying that there's these discounts for veterans. I'm like, you're gonna save $5 on a $1,000 item. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. If you're an active veteran or was active service and you got enough followers, you can definitely come up. Just send a request and the moderators will get you up if you feel comfortable coming up. So we have a whole bunch of questions. I know we're not going to get to all of them, so I'm gonna kind of skip through them. So one of the good questions that I see here is, what aspects of the military life did you find the most rewarding? And that can go for either the veterans or the spouses. Like, in regards to just the whole experience, right? What did you find the most rewarding?
I'll just say one word. I'll say one word, right? And I'll let everybody just do what they got to do. Discipline.
Boom. I like that.
That's not a joke. That's far from a joke. If you go in there hot-headed,
Right.
if you go in there not ready, they're gonna focus on you so much that they will break you into what they want you to do.
That's true. Very true. I would have to say structure,
Okay.
a sense of community. Like, literally, it's like the minute that the retirement part is over, it's almost like, unless you have a core group of people, it's like you go from having this right here that's close knit to being like by yourself.
Right.
Like, it's just like this, you know? So I have to say that sense of community, that sense of just knowing that, you know, when my husband wasn't here, that somebody was coming over to cut my lawn for me just because he wasn't here. And that's what they did. They still take care of each other's spouses without it being anything usual, but they take care of each other's partners' homes. You know what I mean? But that might just be something that was just specific for Air Force. I don't know. Hey, Dapper. You know what I mean? I just know that we had a sense of community that seemed to be lost after retirement, and that part I miss a lot. Is that part right there?
Yeah.
May I comment?
Go for it.
Okay, thank you. Hi everyone. I have to co-sign what the lady just said. I don't know her name. Mika, beautiful Mika. You are absolutely right. And I spent 20 years on active duty in the Army, and I retired March of 2010. And I have not found a community. And one of the things that I experienced was returning back to my own relatives and my community. They said, you're different. Like my own mother told me, you can be different. I don't like Sergeant Vickers. I'm like, well, that's a part of me. And I've been treated like, because I did 20 years and I have a couple of graduate degrees, and they treat me like I'm not like them. And it hurts. It truly, truly hurts. And I never.
Where are you located?
I'm in New Jersey, and I've been following you. I found you on TikTok, and you're the reason why I came into the fly. So I definitely want to get up here, and I'm happy to learn that you are from a military community. And I have intentions on reaching out to you to ask for your services in the future. But
I was gonna say, reach out to me. You got, you know, I got you.
So it'll come from quellenrose@gmail.com. And
Okay.
but yeah, I'm happy I found this room because this is a conversation that's really necessary, and I'm glad we're talking.
Well, thank you for coming up and sharing your experience, and
Thank you for your service.
thank you.
Absolutely. Relationship coach?
Thank you for your service.
Absolutely. So, what about Coach Chris Gorilla? Like, what did you find most rewarding from the military life?
Well, I'm just so proud of my husband, right? Like, I could not be more proud to say that I'm a military spouse because I know how hard he works. And so, my proudest moment would be, I don't know, it's just those moments when I can help people because I've been living this life for 9 years now.
Mm-hmm.
When I can like talk to some of the new wives that are just getting married and tell them like, hey, these are some of the things you can look forward to. These are some of the things that can help you with that. Because like you guys were talking about the bond between service members.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it is like vasopressin bonding because men's brains want to vasopressin bond because they have more receptors. Women have more oxytocin receptors. But vasopressin makes you guys feel like, and you get it in stressful times when you accomplish a goal together. So like war, like the most, that's why you see someone, they went to war together, they came back, they went separate ways because the Army threw them different directions or military. And 30 years later, they run into each other and it's like old times never left. Like they are instantly best buddies again. It's because they bonded so hard that they will always see that person as a teammate. And so I help the wives bond through vasopressin before they leave for and during the deployment, you know, because now we can like talk on the phone and it's easier than it was, you know, before when you maybe got the internet one time and you could send a quick letter or email or, you know. Right. And so I try to help them with that. And that's what feels like the best for me. Like the most rewarding is knowing that if they listen, if they want to, they can have it easier than so many people have in the past because of just little things that they could do.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Listen, guys, I always revert back to this because we've tried this years ago and it didn't go as well. Even though we broke that stigma last week, I just want to be transparent with y'all, right? We tried this on a different platform and it didn't go as well as the way it is going now. It was quote unquote a nightmare in a sense. I'll speak more about it towards the end of the live, but just know I'm loving all of this. I'm loving every second of this. Because it's what I envisioned for you guys to have a platform and a safe space to speak about these things and not feel judged or not feel attacked. Because I've seen it in real time, veterans being attacked on this app, spouses being attacked on this app, just trying to speak their truth about what they experience and the things that they go through. So thank y'all for your transparency. The veterans, thank you guys for, yes, Jade, absolutely. Thank you guys for your services. Even for the spouses and the family, thank you guys for your services. Because that's important as well. You guys play a vital role in making sure the vets have a place to come home. No. You stay right there, Chris. You stay right there. You guys are a vital part of that process. And I don't think you guys realize how vital it is for you guys, for the veterans to come home and have a place to call home. Because there's some veterans that come home that come home to nothing. They have nothing. No family, no support. So that's big.
There's people that know nothing else outside of military life. Not that they don't come home to nothing. They have no reason to come home and they don't.
Yeah.
Stay in because of that. And it's sort of almost, and I'm not going to say this lightly, it's almost like when someone has been institutionalized the majority of their life, that's all they know. So the minute that they come out, they do something to get put back in, except on that terms, you're making a conscious decision to stay in because that is your family.
Right.
The military has become your family, and that is all you know. But the mindset is what I'm getting at. It's sort of like that same mindset. It's like, this is all I know. I don't think I want to be out in the civilian world. I'm going to stay here where it's structured, and I know that I've got this, and this, and I know what to do. No questions asked. That hurry up and wait mentality is not something that is easily taken away. Even as a spouse, it's not. Like, I still do it. It's like, hurry up, let's go. All right, now we can just sit back and wait.
Right.
As long as we're here on time, we're good. You're 15 minutes late. Whatever.
Mika, you're making a very valid point, and you've taken me back to a paper I wrote, and I was in the MSW program, and I argued that our government recognizes that people who are incarcerated need a transition program. Is it because they cannot see our mental gates? Because they have barbed wire and walls, but we have those walls on our brain. For example, I was an Army recruiter station commander in New Jersey, my hometown where I grew up. And I had to be Sergeant First Class Vickers 24/7. And I was in a store one day, and my friend who was a professional manager, engineer at PSE&G, we were in line in this store. And, she got some hood in her still. And the woman, was throwing attitude, and I was like, Gwen, I know what you're capable of, but I'm with you. And if anything goes down, it's going to be Army Sergeant. That makes the headlines. I'm not Jackie. Sorry, that's my, all right. So I'm not me. I'm Sergeant Vickers, Sergeant, Army Sergeant, okay? Just to be clear, because I like to be transparent, my name is Jacqueline, but I want to be different, so I say Quellen, okay? So anyway, okay.
Otherwise, I'm just gonna call you Jay Quellen anyway. So
okay. And so I guess I could come on camera and let you all see me. I look a mess.
But real quick, Jade, if you're trying to come up, just send a request because some reason we can't send you up. I don't know what's happening.
Well, I can't get on camera either.
You might have
Press into that. There you go.
So at any rate, you have to. We have these mental gates around us, and so I was like, why can't the government see that there needs to be a nationwide transition program to help us get re-enter back into I'm nervous, guys. I'm talking unprepared.
Listen, take your time. Like, you're
I'm sure
amongst
you get
a
what I'm
safe
saying.
individual. You're amongst a safe environment. I know it's your first time in here, right? So this is a safe environment. We got moderators on deck for anybody that does any shenanigans in the chat. You are perfectly safe here. Take your time.
Okay, and so we have to be acculturated. Like one of the things that first thing I noticed was there's no sense of community. Your neighbors don't check on each other out here. And I have an understanding of it now, but I was like just totally lost and confused. They self-segregate. Anywhere I went, I was stationed, whether I want to go line dancing, I want to go R&B, hip hop, whatever I want to do, I was welcome. It was community there. Here, where I'm at in New Jersey, it's like the Indians stay over here, the blacks stay here, the Hispanics stay there. I'm like, my gosh, like, what is this about? So that was a challenge for me. Then we get, having 20 years and having a global footprint, you get world travel. And you get a different point of view than the people that never leave home, or maybe they go to the Caribbean for a vacation and they don't get it. Also coupled with the way the military, the standards they hold you to. I had to come on, so there are those are real challenges that are out there that I feel are not properly addressed. In addition to, they paint a broad brush on veterans. And veterans have categories because here in New Jersey, the VA, they have a population of reservists, people who did 2 or 4 years on active duty. They don't have a high population of retirees because a lot of retirees don't go to the North to retire. And so you don't get the proper, I don't feel like you get the proper care when their programs are designed for people who are on drugs, alcohol, homeless, or whatever. My situation is not that. So I created my own program, and that's why Amika, I was going to reach out to you for your spiritual side, okay? But at any rate, that's where I'm at with it. I'll get off the mic.
Oh no, I think that easily. I don't know, Hormiga, if that coincides. I think it coincides exactly what I was talking about how when you go in, it's like you get behaviorally modified to that, so you get assimilated. So everybody has that same mindset where you don't see color. All you see is rank. So then when you come out. Now it's not rank, you know what I mean? People could care less what you've done to provide them with the safety and security that they take so frivolously for granted. They don't see you for everything that you sacrifice for them. What they see is just this and whatever gender you are or identify as, you know what I mean? So it is a different mindset. And I wish and I hope that after I'm finished with my schooling program that I can actually implement some things with other people and I'm in line where I can do some more to help our veteran population, with pain management by what I do, or to help, you know what I mean? Like to be able to help, to have that sense of being able to do something. Because even mentally, I think what we do helps, as a community that we have, as a collective that we have. I feel like maybe I might gear a retreat geared towards that. So thank you for actually, that just got my mind is going, so I'm getting ready to stop and start writing real quick.
Well, I will add. Can I add to that real quick, Nika? Because the program I'm developing right now is it's a personal development program, and it's about connecting to yourself, into mind, body, spirit, and heart. Mind, body, spirit, soul, and heart. And when I saw you, I said, I listened to you on YouTube. I listened over and over and over again because I have to validate people, right? And I came in here to validate you some more, right?
You gotta do trust but verify. You gotta trust but verify.
Yeah. And so I'm like, okay, I think I want to reach out to her with an opportunity to bring her spirituality knowledge to this program because I want to have a 4-day retreat over Zoom because the one I designed for in person would cost me $70,000 and I don't have $70,000 and I don't have the team to help me raise it. I know there's a lot of free money out there for what it is that I want to do, but so I want to do it over Zoom because it's more affordable for me. So yes, I definitely want to reach out to you for that.
Okay.
So real quick before we continue, because I do want to hear from Gorilla King, Jade, and Mallory. I just want to have a moment of silence, real quick, just for our sister Tweets, who had we recently just lost her due to some complications in surgery. She was also a veteran and a support of the military of trying to find solutions, trying to find help, trying to find assistance and related to mental health and related to particular surgeries and particular things that military just didn't afford you guys as far as services. Yeah. She did a lot of work trying to help veterans and trying to give veterans solutions to the situations that they had to deal with in life. She worked with veterans in real time, not just over social media or on TikTok providing information, but she went out her way to actually assist and help veterans in the things that they were struggling with in life. So we just to celebrate her and all the work that she's done to try to help. Beautiful soul, beautiful soul. If you never ever had the chance to actually meet her or speak to her in real time, I'm telling you, she had such a good energy to her. And she was always smiling. Even though she was struggling, she was always smiling. Always smiling.
Wow.
All right, thank you guys. Thank you guys.
Teddy, I just sent you an email, right? It's from the Veterans Affairs.
Okay.
So in your own time, take a look at that. I don't know if any veterans have the Veterans Affairs website or is plugged into this. They have tons of information. You know,
Okay.
they
I'll put it in
show
my
you the
link.
difference.
I'll look
Show you
through
the
it.
difference between. They show you the difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day, which is a very important distinction, and people should know the difference.
Right. I'll look into it. I'll definitely do my research. And then I'll put it in my link tree for everybody to have. So that way, if you guys go to my link tree, you'll have the website available for you guys. So we have Gorilla King. I know Gorilla King's moving around. But,
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. So I want to kind of go a little bit deeper. Go a little bit deeper with this guy. So just be prepared for everybody that's
All right.
Can you share ways you've coped with the uncertainties and the risks that come with the military life?
I just continue to educate myself. I stay connected to my family and those who support me. I'm a person who likes to remain humble. So I revert to my elders a lot, especially those who have been in the military. Like, that's essential. Essential. I know somebody have wrote in comments that we're isolated. You're only as isolated as you want to be. Yeah, I couldn't talk to my mom about certain things, but I would go to my Marine Corps dad and have conversations about what I need to do in the military for this particular issue or this conflict I'm having. Like I tell people all the time, my situation was unique.
Right.
It wasn't some random program that got me into the military. It was a judge who was a Vietnam vet that decided it's best for me to be in the military than to sit in the prison for the rest of my natural born life. So I actually kept in communication with him as well while I was in the military.
Right.
And I heard y'all talking about programs. Just real quick, I am working on a program not just to help veterans, but to also help our troubled youth. I'm burning the candle on both ends, I guess you could say. I want the homeless veterans to have a place to stay and to be able to transition in society. But I want us to stop putting our youth in jail and offer them a chance to serve the country and do something better in life, because I am a shining example that it works.
Right.
But for those of you who are in, don't just rely on your fellow soldiers. Also communicate and relay your experience to those family members who support you outside.
Right.
They don't understand everything, but they'll understand something.
I used to think that active duty was the way to go until after I retired and I was able to work with some reservists and National Guards members. And they have, I think it's actually harder to do that because they have to balance both cultures. And the benefit to it is that they stay connected to a community that they're going to return to. Whereas us active duty, we go in and we live, breathe, play, work, army or military. And then for someone like me, I didn't marry or have children. Well, I got married when I was younger, but I did the army by myself. So everything I did was army. So then I come back out here at 40. I was 42 at the time. And I was like, oh my God, I don't even know how to talk to these people, So my advice to anyone that's serving, if you're going to do a career, whether you're going to do it as a single soldier or married, stay connected to the civilian community and get that balance if you're going to do active duty.
Right. So before I let Jade go, I do want to hear from Mallory real quick, because I know Jade, I know you definitely have a story. So I want to give you that space without any interruptions. So Mallory, just the same question, right? First of all, thank you for coming in for the first time. Q as well, thank you for coming in for the first time. Relationship Chris, thank you for coming in for the first time. You guys it is for your first time on my panel here, so I do appreciate you guys for coming up. Thank you for your services. If you are a spouse or a vet or an active service member, we do appreciate you 100% for giving us this insight of all the things, because a lot of us don't really know much. Just to ask the same question, what can you share ways that you cope with uncertainties that come with the military life?
Oh boy.
Yeah.
Uncertainties. Oh my. Okay. I actually, yeah. Well, just to say, I'm not military. I'm been dating a veteran for 5 years. I've been working for the VA for 10 years. Um, and I've worked in inpatient and outpatient throughout the hospital, the psych floor. And there has been tremendous uncertainty regarding like my relationship at times. And some, if not all, is related to his experiences in the military and after the military. Um, his separation was horrific, and his life afterwards was pretty bad. Like homelessness and drug addiction, jail, with like little to no support from the VA. And I met him in recovery, and it hasn't been a linear journey. And so, we've tried to tap into resources, mental health care at the VA, inpatient mental health care at the VA.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned earlier the relationship coach app through the VA.
Mm-hmm.
There's sometimes a little bit of unwillingness because of how complicated things have been.
Right.
But for myself, I seek therapy and use my community. What I didn't know when I first got into the VA was how awful the experience was to transition out. And I've met and have friends who have gone through that process and stayed close with them through it.
Right.
And I don't get it. When I don't know if someone shared this with me or I sort of just assumed that by the time somebody was ready to get out, they wanted out. And so I didn't know if it was like them rushing it, but the VA system is similar but different. And there's no one to really hold your hand and walk you through it. I will say that the veterans I work with have found enormous support through the whole health programs at the VA and have found community through the VA in that way and with their fellows. They almost exclusively work with groups as a way to foster that community. And I've seen, veterans make friendships and relationships outside of those groups, which has been really positive to witness. And some veterans don't even know that that's an option, that that's a clinic that they can become a part of.
Right.
It's been so impactful that the VA has sponsored clinicians throughout the VA to get trained in their programs so that they can offer it throughout their different departments. Like, for example, I work in pain, but I run it's going to be 3 different whole health programs that I can run as the provider in my clinic. And my specific clinic, we work really close with psychology and mental health and behavioral health. And the program I offer is in chronic pain.
Mm-hmm.
And it's 50%, I would say, like behavioral and physical. So the providers reflect that. And we work in groups. But I recognize and have throughout my years at the VA that it's not enough, that the VA still hasn't caught up to the demands for veterans when things got switched over to being accessible for all veterans. And that was decades ago.
Right.
So yeah, like I feel like I don't do enough, like as the provider that I am. And that contributes to my relationship too, like the challenges that we have because I feel a little like jaded and like, just trying to like seek the resources. I do know that like the mental health programs offer relationship and marriage counseling. I know that the vet centers do, but there's a little bit of a challenge accessing care there based on, I think, your service connection. Do you
Okay.
remember? Let me ask. I know you can go there to get resources if you can't get your some specific care at the vet center. Oh, combat vet. Okay. Yeah. Um, yeah, I think the vet centers can be really useful as a resource. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to share that because I think that something like the whole health programming is really useful and continues to expand
Yeah.
throughout the different VA, um, the different VAs, and also the vet centers can be helpful in that transition.
Mm.
And as an initial like stepping stone for that community and with veterans.
I appreciate that because we all know we all get a stigma all the time. The military doesn't offer enough services or support in regards to the vets when they do come out and they try to go back into civilian life. They don't have the resources. Mallory literally just proved that the resources are there. Like, they're available. We just have to know where to look for them and where we need
Yeah.
to reach out to get those resources. It's available. So I think the
Right.
best thing that we can do is, and I want to be a part of this, and I'm sure there's a few others that's here. I seen Diamond and Hamida commenting back and forth, and I'm sure Mika got a lot of resources that she can also provide as well. Maybe we can all get together and create some type of sheet or form that have all these resources, maybe, and try to put it out. Is that possible? Like create like a PDF or something like that with all the support and all the systems, the things that we can add, we can provide for all veterans and put it on one PDF. That way we can put it out. That way people know where to look. I don't mind putting it in the Discord that I have, as well as blasting it on all of my social medias. You know what I'm saying? I don't have no problem with that. Yeah, so
I
if we
put it
can,
across.
right, so if we can like put something together to make that happen, I think that'd be great because Gorilla's working on something amazing. I already told them that I want to be a part of that. I'm here for all of it. If we can make that happen across the board, I know it has to start somewhere. So I'm gonna let him do what he do first, and then once it's in play, we could start doing it across the board and trying to make that happen. Because I agree, we need to stop putting our kids in prison. You know what I'm saying, and give them an opportunity for change and growth. Because prison's not gonna do that.
There's even a program for veterans that become incarcerated. A lot of people don't know about it, but it's where you have like advocacy and somebody on your side, maybe even a lawyer, I believe, um, that's able to help you navigate that and to really protect you as a veteran.
Cool.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
I really,
Yeah, go ahead, Gorilla.
oh, sorry about that.
Go ahead,
I was going to just say that a really good program that helped me out since I've been out is the Wounded Warrior Project. I'm a part of the Wounded Warrior Project. I volunteer. I help with that.
Part of the project. I volunteer. I help with that. Project. There you go.
Ooh, I sound horrible.
No, you
But
did.
the Veteran to Veteran program also helps with great with resources. Get the information that you need. I have to look up some more information, but because I can't remember my friend's organization, but he has one to where he helps veterans achieve their disability.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, they have
Uh,
that here too. It's like a
yeah,
it's an ongoing thing for veterans so that as things pop up, if you can link it to your service, then they can help you with your disability percentage.
right,
So
Yeah, and
right.
that's probably one of the main things that my veterans will share about is the challenges and struggles to find resources, help, or mentorship, anything like around service connection, because there's a lot of challenge in dealing with that.
Right.
Um, yeah, it was maybe 30 years, I don't remember how long, but decades after my uncle got out that his was finally approved. Um, yeah, it's a struggle for sure. And
Well,
and there's not enough like information
and
um
here's a
and
piece of
organization
information.
too, if I'm honest.
Here's a piece of information that everybody could suggest to veterans, and a lot of people don't know this. But your local representative, each and every one of them have an office specifically tailored to help veterans. You know, it took me 7 years without them to try to get my service connection. As soon as I called them, I got 100% connected, and they had to pay me 7 years,
Yeah.
all because I can't, because you know, just to help people understand why would you call your representative, is because they put a congressional stamp on your record, which means somebody in office wants to know what's happening with your record, and they want to know now. So if your VA isn't helping you, if your VSO is not helping you, you're getting a lot of the runaround, contact your local representative.
Yeah. They also have the White House hotline um for veterans.
Yeah.
The quick Google search. And I will say too, like the VAs are expanding and they're creating more and more community-based clinics. But if that's not available, because I live in DC and that seems to be a barrier, is like the travel and the distance for veterans to access us or to come to us in person. The VA does do a ton of telehealth, and that was something they were doing before COVID. But it also has what's called clinical resource hubs, and they have basically care for veterans that are very rural and have a challenge in accessing their local VA or their local clinics.
Right.
Yeah.
So I do appreciate all that information, guys. Let's definitely
Yeah.
go out on the outside and try to get all this compacted together. Maybe like an email thread, like send either me, Hormiga, or Yamika all your emails, and then we could try to do it that way. You know what I'm saying? Or however you guys feel comfortable doing it, phone number, email, just so we can get all this information together, and then I can work on my end to try to create that PDF with all the support and all the resources, and then I can put it out. And I'll shoot a blast the email thread with all of it together, and then we can put that out. So that way, we can try to find a way to get these veterans the help that they need. Because seeing all these veterans struggling, knowing that they went out and they fought for our freedom, and a lot of them are homeless, a lot of them are really struggling, and they don't have the guidance and they don't have the support that's needed. That's tough to see. That's tough to see.
Hard to swallow.
It is. It's a hard pill to swallow. Yeah, absolutely. We can definitely do that. Jade,
Hi, good morning, everyone.
good morning.
Good morning.
I know you have an interesting story. And I know you are, well, first off, thank you for your service, right? Because even if you served or you were a support system of who served. You still served.
Thanks. I'm going to share a little bit about my background first so that those who
What was
know
yours?
me don't know this because I don't really share about it. I don't open up about it. I've pretty much been a loner for a long time. You know, I come from a very small family and I'm alone in New Jersey for the past 30 years. When I got married to my son's father about 30 years ago, can you hear me okay? Because, you know, I'm not too good with all this. Okay, so when I got
No, you got it.
married with my son's father 30 years ago, my only living parent, who was in New Jersey with me at the time, left and moved across country, and my only sibling went off to college, pursued his career, and moved south. So I've been pretty much on my own 30 years in New Jersey. And I did marry my son's father. My mother felt that it was okay for her to leave because now, you know, her daughter's married. But little did I know that upon marrying my son's father, that I would go through all the things and the experiences that I did. I met him in uniform. Here's a little bit of the backstory. So I met him as a private. He served 25 years. He's a retiree as a first sergeant through the Army National Army, the Army National Guard. He served in the Persian Gulf War, Operation Desert Storm, Operation Enduring Iraqi Freedom, and Operation New Dawn. When I met my son's father, he had just come back. He had just come back from the Persian Gulf War, and at that time there were a lot of cases of like about 30.
She just got a phone call. Give her a moment, guys. If you guys can, let's keep tapping that screen. Let's keep sharing out the live. This has been an amazing experience so far since we've all been in here. We're just gonna wait for her to come back real quick. If you guys can just.
We were out of harm's way as far as trying to reproduce and grow our family. So we waited 5 years because that's how long the study took. So fast forward 10 years into our marriage, we had our first and only child. I didn't know that one of the things that really, really bother me is when people say, well, you should have known what you were getting yourself into. After all, you did meet him in uniform. Well, I didn't know the things that I didn't know that I was signing up for to be a military wife was that we would be moving around the military. I didn't know that when we had our first child, we would buy a house which wasn't so new, that needed repairs, and that when our son showed up 6 months later, his dad would be deployed for 18 months, missing our first child's everything. First words, first steps, first everything. I didn't know that I would be holding my new 6-month-old baby in front of the Christmas tree all by myself during the holidays. I didn't know that the depths of the sorrow, of the loneliness would bring. I didn't know that after meeting him in uniform, returning from the Persian Gulf, I would have to say goodbye 10 years later say goodbye to him as he deployed. I never knew that I would have to endure 4 deployments after being married 10 years and delaying our life and having a baby for 5 years to ensure that dad didn't have remnants of anti-war chemicals in his body, which would cause having a child with deformities. I never knew that after the first deployment of 18 months, dad would be going away again when our baby was 3 years old. I never knew how the deployments would cause an adverse effect on our child. In fact, when he was 3 years old, I remember going to Sesame Street Place And this is like ingrained in me as if it was yesterday, and it broke my heart when my little guy looked at me with his big brown eyes and said, "Mommy, why is everyone here with their daddy except me?" So as early as 3 years old, he already was starting to experience the difference. It breaks you every time you have to leave friends that you've bonded with. I didn't know I would have to call. I didn't know I would get a call that our friend was killed in action. I didn't know that I would get a call that my friend wanted to unalive himself because of his service. His service broke him, and his deployment tore him to pieces. I didn't know that I would wind up on the floor with my friend trying to console her as she grieved the loss of her husband. I didn't know that my husband would not be present during his leave time when he came home for R&R, and his mind was overseas with his men and not at home with his family. I didn't know that my son's father would need shoulder and back surgery after deployment. I didn't know that there would be an 8-hour time difference between countries in order to communicate with my husband at the time. So this is going on like 13 years. I've been divorced now after being with him 20 years. I didn't know that I would be handling emergencies on my own in the home front, minimizing liability when the inclement weather, having to shovel the snow on the sidewalk and to prevent any liability to us if somebody fell on our property. I was a new homeowner all by myself, didn't know how to handle those type of emergencies. I didn't know that I would wind up being in the hospital with my son, who drank Mr. Clean as I was cleaning the kitchen floor in the kitchen at 9:30 at night. I turned around and noticed that he drank Mr. Clean and spilled it all over him. I put him in the bathtub, I looked at the bottle. I acted really quickly, looked at the bottle for poison control, and quickly had to teach myself what I needed to do in that moment. Wind up in the hospital via ambulance. My house was flooded with EMTs, the ambulance, the police, the fire department. 10 o'clock at night in the middle of a blizzard, go to the hospital with my son in the ambulance. He had to undergo an endoscopy at the tender age of 14 months. I didn't know this doctor. I had to make the decision to allow him to do that medical procedure on my son. I asked him, well, what would be, if I didn't make this decision right now, are there going to be any adverse effects down the road? He goes, well, there's a potential that we may have to operate him open chest down the road if we don't examine his esophagus now. So I had to make that decision.
Take your time. Take your
There's
time.
so much that has happened in those 20 years. I remember, being a first sergeant's wife, I didn't know that I had to stay in my lane and follow the chain of command when trying to console and help a soldier's wife. My friend stopped her from trying to unalive herself. She was in the hospital, and I was very involved with the FRG group, the Family Readiness Group. I didn't know that even in the Family Readiness Group, the little group that we had going, that we needed to stay within our ranking husbands. I thought we were a family, but it was brought to my attention that I needed to act like a first sergeant's wife. That for me was strange because I come from a corporate background and I married a military man. So this whole military life was different from what I had known.
Mm,
Um,
okay.
let's see. I took some notes that I wanted to share with you guys. If you ever saw, what really kills me is that he did so many deployments back to back. I never realized that if you ever saw the movie Stop Loss, once the soldier, did anybody watch the movie Stop Loss? It was a sergeant that was in the military. He was running a checkpoint. My son's father was in Tikrit when they caught Saddam Hussein. At that time, that was 2003, where the invasion of Iraq on the military campaign that overthrew Saddam Hussein's regime. My son's father was with that unit that captured Saddam at that time. The effects of that, like the mission, that mission was the start of the end and the demise of our marriage. Like, sorry guys, this is a lot. I don't even know where to start. I want to. My goal here is
You're amongst friends and family, so you're good to go.
My goal here is to whomever is listening that is a military wife or is considering on marrying a soldier that is, or someone that's looking to go into the military. You're going to need support. Gorilla K was 100% correct. Without the proper support, there's no way that you would be unscathed coming out of all of that. And sadly for me, I didn't have the support, didn't know where to turn to, who to turn to. I had to continue working every day, go to work. I'm a litigation paralegal, and my profession is to work with lawyers and handling cases, while my son's father was overseas in combat, not knowing if I would be getting a phone call that he was not coming home. And then having to rush to pick up my little guy from daycare, rush to go home, take care of him, take care of the home front. I wasn't taking care of myself. I was just on autopilot all the time. And I just had to reserve however I was feeling for some other day. And now 13 years later, after my divorce, I still find it difficult to talk about these things. So while I was in it, it's like when someone's injured and they're like just operating on adrenaline and they don't feel the pain because they just got to keep going. Well, that's sort of kind of like what happened to me. I remember so I met him when he came back from the Persian Gulf. Then he went, 10 years later, he was deployed to Operation Desert Storm. And then he came back from that tour with a rotary cuff shoulder injury, lower back injuries. So he had to have surgery on his shoulder, on his lower back. He had whiplash from getting in and out of the Humvees and severe PTSD. I remember having to go to debriefings when the spouse returns from war or overseas. And that involved a lot of travel. I endured that alone with my son in tow, not knowing what to expect, how and what condition he was going to be coming back mentally. Today and age, he's 100%. He's been classified 100% mentally disabled. So you just never know when you have to act quickly or you're getting yourself into any type of situation. You always need to be prepared if you can, because you just never know. The effects that has happened to me is like ever since the Ukraine war started, I have not watched the news. I can't handle the news on war, and I just stopped watching the news altogether. It was tough for me being the spouse of a higher ranking NCO. Because coming from a corporate environment, I didn't know I had to stay in my lane and follow the chain of command. The things I would my greatest rewarding moments, my greatest moments, one of them was in particular watching my son's father receive a Bronze Star from an Army general. The Bronze Star is for those who get decorated for the heroic and meritorious deed in armed conflict and recognized for their sacrifice, achievement, and bravery and honor in service to our country. That was a great moment, and I know my son is extremely proud of his father. But in the end, I feel as my son's father and I were the ones who suffered the most loss in our family. And I don't think that even that Bronze Star can help repair all the damage that occurred during those 20 years.
I agree.
I think the Bronze Star costs, if you look it up, it costs $25.
That's rough.
So it's like, yes, I understand the magnitude of the Bronze Star, but for me, it's a piece of metal in a box. And I'm sorry if I sound a little bitter and resented. There's just so much I cannot cover this morning.
Don't apologize because it's your experience.
It's just so much that has happened. The nights that I was confronted with him waking up in the middle of the night and choking me or pointing a gun to my head, thinking that I'm an enemy.
You sound a little bit muffled, love.
The times that he shoved my head on the ground, on the wood floor.
Careful with that. Careful with that.
Oh,
Careful with that.
Because of a PTS incident on the 4th of July, hearing a half a stick of dynamite go off, what you call is a Roman candle, and that ignited the PTSD. So he said, "Get down, stay down," and calls to the window, breaks out in a sweat, looks around. And then I said, it's okay. You're home. You're back home. You're home now. You're safe. It's okay. Things of those, like too many of those little incidences that a lot of a normal civilian would not be able to understand, nor somebody who's married to a service person who has not been in conflict during wartime in the front lines, because his MOS was weapons. So early on in his career, he started out as infantry, but then his last tour, right before retiring as a first sergeant, was running a prison north of Baghdad that contained 50 of the world's worst terrorists. And he reported to the Pentagon every single day. When he came back from that last tour and they increased his rating to 100%, I honestly believe that there was something more than meets the eye that a normal civilian could never understand. because the things that he shared with me during that deployment and the things that were done during that time where he ran that SHU, the special housing unit, the things that were done there were not in line with Geneva Conventions. So to conclude, I have to say, without breaching confidentiality, because I know a lot more than your normal civilian, I strongly believe that the government has the capacity to wipe somebody's brain and memory.
We're gonna leave that there.
We're going to leave that there. It's a very deep story that I have, but we're going to leave it there. So this is why I'm saying that the Bronze Star, yes, it's symbolic, but at the same token, does it really take away all the hurt and the damage? No.
Yeah.
And lastly, to conclude on my story, I haven't been able yet to find somebody that can help me get over the grief or how all this has affected my son and I.
That's gonna take some shopping around to find the right person. But this is why this having this conversation is important, right? Because we all come from different backgrounds of understanding what's happening when it comes to the military. Me being a family member of someone that was in the military, and some people being active and retired, and some people really diving into being a part of that community, like Mika, like Q, like Gorilla, like Mallory being working in the VA and seeing these things in real time, right? Coach Chris, like Hormiga, like seeing these things in real time, and some people in the chat as well. Some people that are not here, Venus, you know what I'm saying? I got you. I'm gonna just hear from Sofrito real quick, and then I'll give it to you, bro. This is what this is here for, right? People are afraid to have this conversation. They're afraid to have this uncomfortable conversation, and I wanted to give you guys the space to make this happen, regardless of whatever lash I'm gonna get from this. Because trust me, we have people that refuse and they don't want to have this conversation. I don't know what it is that they're scared of, but I'm not. Far from it.
It's not an easy conversation to have, first and foremost. And Jay, I must applaud you for your transparency. Is this the first time that you were able to talk about this in this capacity or in any capacity?
Yes.
There you have it. Lee.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jade, honestly.
I've never shared this with anyone. Not even my mother. She would never be able to understand.
Right.
My brother's a pilot, a commercial pilot. What would he know about war? Nobody. Then I know.
You've taken a humongous step in the right direction to at least release what you've been suppressing for so long. Now, there's more that you can do, but believe me when I tell you, this was a huge step in the right direction, because this is what we do here. We encourage people to not bottle things in.
Yeah.
We encourage people to let it go. You'd be surprised. And again, this is not the answer or the total, therapeutic way of doing things, but you will be surprised later on today or maybe tomorrow how you felt as though you had someone listening to you, because we are all listening to you right now. I need you to understand that.
Yeah. Like the amount of support that you have in here right now, there's not a single person that's in the comments that's laughing, that's making fun of, nothing. It's all support and love in the comments, in the boxes. This is why I said when you spoke, I was going to give you this space. I didn't want nobody to interrupt you when you were speaking, because I know. We had a brief conversation about like of what the things that, but it wasn't never nothing detailed, right? Because we had a little of a conversation over the phone with me, you, and Hormiga, but it wasn't nothing crazy. So I appreciate you for gracing us with that and being open enough to have this type of conversation on a public platform, for one, right? And hopefully, and I'm praying that this starts the process that you need to heal.
Thank you. I want to share something with you guys with respect to the effects, the after effects of coming back and joining back the families. Full transparency here. When I got a divorce, my son was 8 years old, and I begged his father to please not do that, like for us to seek help. I'm a social science major by degree, sociologist by degree, and I'm a big proponent of therapy and social work. But he wasn't, because he also went to drill sergeant school, so he was former drill sergeant and first sergeant, and I guess his machoism didn't allow him to seek out help, and I begged him to please let us seek help. Long story short, he filed for the divorce because he was convinced, he came back with so much anger, and he was convinced that I had not been faithful to him. And I swore up and down, I said, let's get treatment. I will give you all the evidences and proofs. We're in the best phases of our life right now. Please don't end this. Don't give up on us. It turns out that after we got a divorce, he did seek the therapy that he needed. He got on medication. A lot of the things that he used to do, he stopped. And he told me one day in confidence during a conversation, he said, I'm really sorry that I left and was not there for you. Because one tidbit I didn't share with you guys, after 10 years of being married, when he got the call that he needed to go away to Iraqi Operation Desert Storm, I remember crying for like 2 hours straight. I could not believe that after coming, being a Persian Gulf vet with the syndrome, that they would send them off to war again. I told him my legal mind kicked in, and I told him, he had requested a transfer from his unit, and then his unit got activated to be deployed. And I said, you need to fight that. Your paperwork crossed in the mail, it's in transit, your transfer request. Long story short, his commander gave him the opportunity to choose whether to go or to stay. Our son was only 6 months old. We had just bought a house that wasn't so new, that needed repairs, and we were in the midst of doing project renovations. He said, he looked at me in the face and he said, I'm sorry, but I need to go with my men. And that was something that really hurt me and has stayed with me for a long time, until several years ago, he apologized for choosing to go rather than to stay. So there are some men that feel, for whatever reason, I can't speak for everyone else, that choose to go, whether it's because of the loyalty and the brotherhood that they have with their servicemen. They make that sacrifice and actually leave their family behind. I never thought that I would be a part of that. So there's a lot more, but those are the major takeaways that I want to leave you with about my story that has stayed with me. And to this day, I have not been able to talk to anybody about it. I've been kind of just doing my own thing and going through life, hoping that it will just time would heal all those wounds.
Right. What's up, bro? Welcome in, Keith.
And I leave it there. I land my plane there.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for real.
So I want to kind of hear from Sofrito, because I know Sofrito said that he had a grandfather that was in the Navy. What was kind of your relationship with your grandfather, knowing that he was in the military? But what did that look like for you with your family?
I mean, I really didn't have to live. I was just gonna say, he was just much different than I would say everybody else. The way that he viewed life and was different than what other people I see view life as. I guess because of the way that he had to grow up and just being in the Navy and stuff like that. he always tried to get me to go into join the National Guards and stuff. I mean, I tried, and I went to go sign up, and then I was told I was disqualified when I was getting ready to sign papers because of a neck tattoo that was visible when wearing uniform, and they told me that I was automatically disqualified. And then from there, I obviously never tried again. So, but I didn't know until I was in his office and turned my head. And he was like, "You're disqualifying me for what?" And he said, "Visible tattoos when wearing uniform." And that was just it.
So
And
in
that was,
regards to like the relationship with your grandfather, right? Because I know you said that he lived a different lifestyle compared to everybody in the family because of his military background. Like, what was your relationship with him like growing up?
I mean, it was, I mean, one of the best relationships I ever had with anybody was with him because, what it was, I mean, it was just more of a respectful kind of I mean, like I see like manners and respect and loyalty come much more with stuff like that than just people that really just don't even understand. I mean, and it might not sound like that. Like, I mean, like listening to her speak and maybe like, how can somebody be loyal when it's like, or when it's like he may have chose his men over his 6-month-old baby, but I think there's more to it in someone's head that actually has to make that decision. You know what I mean? It's like, I mean, you have to give that man, and no disrespect, it's like, you have to give that man respect because he chose you, and you. He chose thousands.
I got you. Okay.
He chose thousands, and he took that into perception. You know what I mean? And that, to me, I think it's like that's just another way to look at it, because of what he went through and what was going through his mind. You know what I mean? At that time. So it's like, I mean, I feel like the loyalty and the respect of things is just different. It's a different form.
I can understand that. Go ahead, Mika. So just to keep you guys in mind, right? This is not anything to debate. Everybody's experience and opinions is their opinions, right?
And and just so just so you guys know, the #1 TikTok interrupter didn't even hit his mute button, not even one time, and didn't come off mute the entire time she spoke, which means like her story,
and I was gonna address that. I appreciate you for that.
her story, you know what I mean? And it's like, I just listening to her story, right? And when she was saying, like, I mean, it's like she might need like some, obviously, like help because of what she went through, and it's like it's not out there. And when I say it's like, when I'm here for like my own, which is, everybody here in America, I mean, that goes, a long way into like what we're going to continue to like, what we're like. I mean, people will pay into a certain thing, but they won't pay into that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I feel like, I can't say this without even getting into a political debate of it, because I don't. But it's like the border has much more. There's a lot more to it. I mean, the border. To see the border affects that as well, because that right there. Her story is still part of our own, because it's like there's no funding and there's nothing there for women like that. I mean, for for military wives, for the people and stuff like that. But it's yet there's something else there. For that I mean, before that, that's still part of our own. You know what I'm saying? There's no funding. There's no funding for her, but there's funding for that. You know what I mean? Do you follow me? And
I get what you're saying. I get what you're saying without making it political.
I'm gonna leave it there. I'm not gonna say nothing else.
We're gonna leave it there. We're gonna leave it there. But I get what you're saying. Go ahead, Mika.
Jade, as a spouse, I want to offer you some words of comfort. Your husband did not have a decision to make. That was not his choice. He before he even met you, he made an oath to our country to protect and to serve. And part of that is putting his brothers ahead of us. part of our spouse's duty to what they do for a living and what they've chosen to do, even before they met us, was to protect and to serve. And literally, I apologize to you that you were not prepared. No one had given you that preparedness of what to expect from being married to someone who serves in our armed forces. I heard exactly what you said. And I'll be more than happy to help you navigate through this process after this conversation. However, he did not choose someone over you, or anything over you or your child. He didn't have a choice. And I think that it says a lot for him to acknowledge the fact that you were hurt by that decision, that it seemed to be his, but it wasn't his to be made. He didn't have a choice in that matter. And what it seems like to us as civilians looking from the outside in, is like, well, you could just say no. No, he didn't. He couldn't. Him apologizing is huge. So don't take that lightly, because he honestly did not have a choice in that matter. The PTSD issues that you were subjected to, again, I'm sorry you went through that, but there are people out here that can help you get through the emotional portion, and I'm just letting you know that I can help. I'm willing to help you to work through all of that stuff and to try to gain some understanding based off of what I've been through personally, as well as the knowledge that I've gained in school. I'll just put it that way, through proper educational means. But I just wanted to at least give you some solace in knowing that he didn't have a choice. So that feeling of abandonment that you felt, don't keep that. Don't hold on to that. And it's easier said than done, but hopefully coming from someone who, I married my husband, and literally 6 weeks after we got married, he was gone. We spent maybe a whole 2 months out of the first 10 years of our marriage together. 2 months together out of the first 10 years, if that says anything, like together consecutively. And the majority of that was because he had to have back surgery. So I understand the emotional toll that it takes on a person. I knew what I was signing up for whenever I married my husband. Did I expect to be by myself a lot? No. But I assimilated to doing what I had to do and making sure that he had a home to come to, because I knew that was important. I also married someone who had 2 children that needed guidance, and needed that other figure because their father wasn't there. So I stood up in his place alongside their mother to give them a sounding board as their father's fill-in person. So,
It's huge.
there's a lot that goes into being married to the military. Not just you're not marrying that person, you're marrying the military. And I
Lifestyle.
wish that we had a handbook that say, here, this is how you're supposed to act. because we do have to act accordingly based off of our husband's ranks. We are held to certain standards. And a lot of people don't realize that when you are married to someone who has a higher rank, they look at you as if you are your husband, and your actions actually are reflected upon him. And then if you do something, he feels the wrath of that from the military.
Absolutely. And I never knew that.
Yeah. So I wish that there were, but 2020 hindsight, write a book about your experience and publish
That's
it.
huge. That's
And
huge.
maybe that can help someone else in the future.
That's huge.
That was
And
definitely
for some reason, I have a feeling that Hormiga's smiling way too hard at this right now.
because
I feel like
this is not the first time. Jay can tell you that this is not the first time that she's been said that. I said that to her myself, Mika. So you already know we're on the same page with that.
That's how I know that you said it, because you started smiling the moment that she said it. I was like, I said he said this before, because he's smiling way too hard up there.
Listen, haven't we been doing this for so long? Have not we told people? Now, this is not no shade to Jay. This is for everyone. Have not we been advocating to write down your feelings? That sometimes speaking them is just one way of expressing them, but when you write them down and you read your words,
It's a different dynamic. It's different.
there's connections and disconnections, right?
Mhm.
So one way to disconnect from something is to put it somewhere else.
And if you don't want to keep it, burn it. But write it down, because it writing it down is kind of like it's kind of like releasing that energy. You're releasing that energy of that feeling, of that emotion, of that thought, memory, that experience, right? But you write it down. You can either write it down to keep it, to write a book like Mika said, or write it down and burn it.
Whether it's a book, whether it's memoirs,
Journal.
whether it's journaling,
Have any of you heard of narrative exposure therapy?
that's me.
Can you repeat that again?
Narrative exposure therapy.
Yes.
Okay, it's very difficult to find practitioners. I went through the actual certification training. It's an institution out of Italy, and you could buy the book on Amazon if you want to learn about it. But what happens is when you see a practitioner, because it does not have to be clinical. A school teacher can do it. But what they do is walk you through your trauma, and they document it. And when you get done with the therapy, you will have a documented story. Narrative exposure therapy. There are other therapies, evidence-based therapies that you write, but I was really attracted to the narrative exposure therapy, and that's what I incorporated in my training modules that I was talking about earlier.
Rose, can you write that down in the chat, please? Because I think that a lot of people.
I just wrote it just now.
That is also now part of the new self-mastery, a psychological evaluation now, believe it or not.
Another thing I found is this from my own personal experience, because when you're school trained and you do get a global footprint of all the growth and exposure that you earn and develop through just by wearing that uniform for 20 years or more, it's hard to talk to therapists who have not. I hope I say this the right way. Well, I'm just going to say it.
Transparency, full transparency. Go ahead.
I have a friend of mine. She's has a master's in social work as well. She's in the military, and we both found it very difficult to talk to therapists. And you have to just therapist hop. And my challenge was, if they can't meet me where I'm at intellectually, because if you're supposed to be my therapist, you're supposed to give me something, food for thought, something to think about, some takeaways.
And because a therapist's job is not there to fix anything for you, they're there to give you the information, the resources, and teach you how to use them. But a lot of it is ownership on the actual client, the person seeking therapy. So with narrative exposure therapy, it does require a practitioner to do it so it's effective because it was designed that way. But what I'm doing, what I decided to do for myself, because I could not, because I don't have money and I can't afford to go pay somebody $400 an hour, for it, therapy. I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and reach out to valid sources and resources for my own healing. That led me to developing my program. And in my program, I intertwine psychology and storytelling together so that when you go through each module, because a lot of people write and it disturbs me, especially it disturbs me, this is from my ethics from the military, I would say, when people hustle people. Oh, I can help you write your book. And people don't even know how to teach you how to write. So in my therapy, what I did was intertwine psychology and storytelling, capturing all of the 15 writing beats. And as you go through the personal development modules that are all based off of evidence-based interventions and established theories, people will be able to get the healing and get their story out. So it's win-win. And I'm doing it free for women through my nonprofit program. Well, for people through my nonprofit program, so because it's about giving back, it's about helping other people and moving forward with it.
I love
Which
that.
nonprofit are you part of?
I have my own nonprofit, Low Paw Ladies Onward Progression Around the World, Low Paw, LOPAW. And that's what I'm going to be providing that service for.
Nice.
Thank you.
Definitely reach out to one of us and just provide us as much information about your nonprofit and that program that you're working on. So
Yeah, because, one, it's definitely going to be free because I'm going to actually do a study to measure the efficacy of my work so that, I want to put quality work out there. So it'll be like half will get a placebo. They'll end up writing a book, a short book, 150 pages, and the other half will actually go through the training. So I'll let you all know when I launch it.
Do you have a website?
Not right now. I'll let you all know when I launch it. But you could connect with me through this platform. I'll give you my contact information. I'll keep you all posted for anyone that's interested.
Yeah, we definitely need to set up like an email thread or something like that.
This is
Go ahead and schedule your session.
listen. It's 11:48. This has been a remarkable session, Jay. You've been in the monumental platform before, but I want to officially welcome you with your testimony. The countless testimonies that we have had here since the beginning.
Listen,
This is a different type of connection because we feel you. I look at you totally differently after this. We've had many conversations, but I look at you totally different now, and you have my full grace. I just text you that, and I just want to say it live in front of everyone. I just want to take this quick opportunity. Next week, Rose, we will talk a little bit more about what's out there, right, and more information to help. We're going to get a little bit more into the meat and potatoes of what we can do. This was a good live as far as testimony is concerned, but with your permission, Teddy, I'd like to go into a couple of quick things before we wrap it up.
what's yours?
The first thing I want to share is the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. And no, I'm not going to assume that people know this. So for those that do know, thank you. For those that don't, let's shed some light. Memorial Day is specific to those that lost their life during battle or as a result of an injury during battle. Most people have a cookout. Most people, it's a reason for them to have a barbecue and have no idea why they have that day off. And I think it's sickening not to understand that. That's number one. So Veterans Day is for anyone who has served in the armed forces. Another quick note. This month is not just
Veterans Day month. It's Veterans Day month and families. It was changed.
I
It is
didn't know
not
that.
just it is not just Veterans Day. It is Veterans Month and families. They changed it. I'm on the VA website right now, and it tells you all the different events happening this weekend. Monday is a day off for many people, and if you look up your state, it'll tell you. Like for instance, New York, right? New York, they have a parade. They have a parade in New York. They also have a Veterans Day run, right? And then an hour later, they have a Veterans Day ceremony in the Intrepid Museum down the block. But if you look at your state, there's many things that you could attend. Show some love. It doesn't necessarily, if getting involved and doing hands-on work is not your thing, just show up to one of the events. Just show love. It's appreciated. So I just want to do that. There's also a law that Obama wrote in 2016, and on Veterans Day, they are remembered with a moment of silence at a particular time. For Eastern time is around 2:00. That's another way of doing this. What else I want to talk about? Okay, there's something that's called debriefing, and that's a word that's used a lot in the military, right? But believe it or not, debriefing is more psychological than it is just military. And the difference between military and psychological debriefing is that debriefing in the military is going over whatever it was that the mission entailed. It's like a recap of what happened, about the facts. Now, when we talk about debriefing, watch this. You're going to love this, Teddy. It's a procedure that takes place after a research or experiment involving human participants to provide them with information and an opportunity to ask questions. Here's the problem with the military, the transition period, and I know Mika could agree with this. Watch this. The transition from doing the military to becoming a civilian is just not enough. That's what they call a debriefing. Hey, you know what I'm saying? Let's talk about your experience here. What are you going to do now? That's not enough. Military men and veterans they don't prepare them enough to make the transition into civilian life. It's the same thing as a person that has been working in the same company for 30 years, which I specialize in, the transition, and not having an identity outside of all that time that they spent. They cannot, it's almost like being institutionalized in a prison and serving 10, 15, 20 years. A lot of people that come out of a prison go back because they cannot relate. Think about this. You go into the military at a certain time period, you come out at 10, 15, 20 years, the phones are not the same, the music is not the same, the clothes is not the same, the cars are not the same, the people's language is not the same. You're lost in the source. It's easy for them to say, you know what, I'm going back. Now, in Jade's case, watch this, Jade. There's a difference between choice and option. You know I love words, right? So what Mika said, it might have been an option for him to stay or go, but he really didn't have a choice, because a choice is free will. And if something is in your head and it's something that you are used to and attached to, there really isn't a choice. So understand it from that perspective. And this is for everybody, not just for Jade, but in Jade's case, because I am very empathetic for her right now about what she went through and what she still continues to go through. There's a difference between choice and option. An option is that you have the power to choose, right? Mm-hmm. But a choice is more of a free will. So if you have something in your head that you are accustomed to, that's not really free will, because there really is no choice when it comes to that. I just want to say that. And the last thing I want to say is, I've seen so many callous moments and experiences of people making fun of people in the military. I've literally heard so many people say, you're really stupid for fighting for a country that doesn't love you. That's very harsh. I've literally seen people make fun of people that were in the military or veterans and we need to put a stop to that.
Yeah.
You don't have to. I understand that we live in in a world or in a nation of free speech, but that doesn't give you the right to be an asshole.
Say that again.
Yeah, you do not have the right to be an asshole. It's not a right. That is a choice.
You just made me think of when you just said people say, you know, so your citizens were country, whatever. I know this from statistics and research. The average enlisted person that joins is from a poor or working class family. And when they make that decision, they were smart enough to know that they wanted something for themselves and they did not have the resources to go the civilian route. So they took advantage of the military and they, you know, get the benefits and so forth. So people who say that it's a narrow mindset. I really don't put any energy or thought into that because some things that I have learned over the years in my emotional intelligence growth is that what belongs to me and what doesn't. You know, just because they shoot it out doesn't mean that you need to receive it. And you have to learn how to put mental blocks up to noise and to validate the source. And if you don't validate that source, you don't receive that negative energy from them. So that's what I would ask my fellow veterans and people serving in active duty. And one more thing I want to say to anyone that's in this room that's on active duty right now or reservists, you're serving right now, your medical records, document it, get a copy of it, and you hold on to everything in that medical record until you leave the Army. Because what they don't tell you as young service members is about you're getting your VA benefits. Us people who do careers, we communicate this with each other and we make sure that we're locked in and we know how to do those evaluations and so forth when we exit the military. So I have a lot of information as well as everybody else, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I'm going to post everything because it's already out there. And all you got to do is Google the stuff. But just hold on to your information. And one more thing, this veteran who works for the VA said he's in charge of the claims and stuff, a supervisor. He said, treat that that disability. It's not disability like Social Security disability. It's a depreciation of your body that they're reimbursing you for, internally and externally. So look at it from that, because I see a lot of guys, they got this ego thing going on, but I'm going to promise you, I told you, I said I have DSM-5 on my phone and I have a desktop copy. I'm going to give you a script to go in there and say. I said, swallow your pride, okay? And then go in there with that ego on rest and go in there and say X, Y, Z and get your 100%. One is the GS-15 and one is the GS-13 for the government, but they both have 100% disability. And don't be afraid to talk about your mental health. I would tell you, I hope no one takes it from me because I have not copywritten it yet. But I call it bubble bath for the brain. Just as you wash your body every day, you need to cleanse your mind every day. And it takes practice and learning how to do it. So, but I'm here for all my veterans.
That's perfect. Really quickly, I said I was going to say a story, but I'm going to save the wild one for next week. But I'll do a quick one. I don't know if people live in areas where there's a horn that sounds sometimes during the day, without even noticing. And I was separated already from the military. All right, without even noticing, I went in my room and I put on my camos, right? and I was in the window. Let me show you what was going on. Look. Granted, yeah. I had a couple of sips of bourbon, right, which didn't make it any more better. But I was doing the Malcolm X by any means necessary.
Yeah, we got you, Chris. We're gonna give everybody their chance to do their closing. We got you, Chris.
Looking like this, peeping out the window, see what's going on.
You know that horn that goes. I said, "What? Do you hear that?" Everybody said, "I don't hear nothing." I heard it. I know. You know how I know I heard it? Because it happens every day.
Coming.
Now
every day. That's it coming. That means duck.
No, I'm like, this is it. This is what I've been waiting for. Now we're all gonna find out who's made of what.
We need to have a discussion, bro. Cause listen,
That's hilarious. I love it.
we
I
need
love
a
it. I love
serious discussion though, Omega.
Yeah, we got some things we need to work on, and I'm glad, Teddy, that you decided to dedicate this entire month to this because, as you can see, this is the second week, and we still have a lot of things that we have not covered yet.
it. Absolutely. Absolutely. So the last 2 weeks, I'm giving it to this guy. That I did what I feel like I'm capable of doing and bringing to the light for this type of conversation. So for the next 2 weeks, I'll be hosting it, but on my page, but he's gonna be taking over for the next couple of weeks, just so you guys can have the veterans perspective of kind of controlling this kind of environment.
I'm gonna invite some good people too, man. They got some stories. I'm gonna need your help, Mika, with this track. I want to focus more on resources. I'm gonna focus more on getting the word out, and I'm gonna be specific about where they can get this information. So bring your pen and paper, But I need to have like 10 different conversations before Saturday. So,
I mean, listen, let's make it happen. Let's make it happen. So I'm going to give everybody an opportunity for their closing. And since you're in the big box, sir, go ahead and start it off.
what I'm gonna say is, again, stop taking life for granted because life ain't gonna give or grant you anything unless you put your best foot forward, right? Respect the veterans. If you don't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing, right? These veterans are the people who will be the first one to jump off their seat and protect you, man, if you need help. You understand what I'm saying? Especially, another thing too, for the spouses and family members of the veterans, give yourself some grace. I respect you. Some women have to transform into their masculinity to take care of the house and take care of the things that supposedly in tradition the man is supposed to do. The whole cutting the grass. When something breaks, they got to fix it. They're the ones that got to go to Home Depot. On top of being a mother, on top of actually having to go to work, they got to fix the house. If they have tenants, they got to deal with those tenants. And there's no man around to help them. You just need to start respecting these spouses, man. This is some serious shit. And that's what I got right now.
He ain't lying, though. Telling the truth. The whole truth. Nothing but the truth. Coach Chris, what you got? Oh, Mika, actually, go ahead. We'll go to Mika and then we'll go to Coach Chris. We're going to go boom, boom.
Let me end it.
Are you going to end it? Okay. Coach Chris, go ahead.
Okay, so I wanted to say that one of the things that helps me probably significantly, and it sounds kind of stupid, I never make solid plans. We plan things like tentatively. Like, we want to do this, but it might change. And like my husband will say, we're supposed to get off early today. And I'm like, okay, I'll believe it when I see it. Instead of getting my hopes super high that he's going to come home and we're going to hang out, we're going to do all this stuff. Nope, I assume you're still coming home late. And if you don't, I'm super excited you didn't. But if you do come home late, well, now I'm not disappointed and upset. And I also know it is not up to him. He does not have a high enough rank as a staff sergeant to decide when he comes home and when he goes to work. So that helps me a lot to just say, the Army's the wife and I'm just going to listen to whatever she says.
I mean, that's a good way to look at it, though. Honestly, without having the struggles of trying to feel like you don't belong, because he just, he has that support and he has that connection with his brothers. That's a good way to look at it. I like the way that you did that.
Oh, can I say one more thing? Sorry.
Go for it.
My husband says this a lot to me, and that's probably why I didn't remember, because it's not coming from my head, it's coming from his. That he couldn't do what he does in the Army if he didn't have me at home supporting him. So like my first job is to be an Army wife so that I can support him so he can be the best soldier he can be. And unfortunately, a lot of the other soldiers that he talks to don't have that. And they don't have a peaceful house when they come home from all that chaotic that's happening in the Army. Because, it might be 5 o'clock and you guys were getting ready to leave and they said, nope, you guys got to stay and do this instead. Or, yeah. So, try to, instead of getting mad, try to be there to support them so that they can do their best, because in return they're going to give you their best. If you like, you guys can give each other better if you're helping each other.
Right. Absolutely.
Thank
You?
you.
Go ahead, Rose.
Oh, I would say, I wasn't prepared. I would say that I'm here for all veterans, and I hope to reconnect with you the next time you go live.
Yeah, we'll be here next Saturday. We'll be here next Saturday for sure. I'm dedicating all the time that's available right now to make sure this month goes smoothly and without a bang.
Can I say one thing?
Go for it.
And it just bothers me, so I have to be honest with you all. I get it. The spouses do serve too. I know many of them. But to say they serve as spouses, they serve as support systems, they don't wear that uniform. And you can't intertwine the two, in my opinion, and my experience, because they don't wear the weight of that uniform. They support it. It's like you're married to a surgeon. She doesn't do surgery, or he doesn't do surgery. That spouse does. So I just, as a veteran who served in that uniform and did that career by myself without a spouse, I just would like to have that cleared up with the civilians in the room. The spouses support, the veterans wear. They are the soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
Just for clarity and understanding, so, you know.
No, we appreciate that. We appreciate that. Absolutely. Jade?
Thank you all for having me on the panel today to share my story. I was shaking like a leaf. I didn't realize why. And I just realized today that I have never talked about any of this, and that's why. I'm feeling a little better now to know that I'm not alone, that there are lots of women out there in the same situation. I just hope that the VA does more to make available programs for spouses, but I find it hard for civilians like me who are in a corporate setting and have to focus on doing their job. I don't have the time per se to dig when you're going through, like, let's say the VA website. There's so much red tape and bureaucracy, and having to dig through all the proper channels and offices. For those of you who are in the military, you know what I mean. Finding those resources are difficult. And lastly, I want to end it with saying that don't hide, don't go into a cocoon, reach out and talk to other people who may be in the same situation, maybe just by talking it out and sharing what's coming up for you. That may help in the end, in the long run, ease some trauma and pain just by talking it out, because I never had that chance to do so. Sadly, I didn't have the family, and because I was married to a higher ranking NCO, I didn't have the comfort to speak to somebody else. So I basically went through it alone. So don't do that. That's the worst thing that you can do. That's what I have to say. And thank you for having me here today.
Of course,
You notice her tone of voice?
It's changed.
It changed immediately. You understand the power of letting it out, but just don't let things out to anyone. You have to make sure that you are in a safe place first. Okay, we're not just talking about this platform. In everyday life, do not express yourself to a place that's not going to show you grace and allow you to be vulnerable. Life lesson.
Mika?
I learned a lot today, this morning. I'll just put it that way. I think with everything, you have the good, you have the pros and the cons. Um, Definitely, your experience is based off of whatever you put into it. If you
Hmm.
want to get the best out of it, you put in more effort to get more out of it. Um, you know, I don't know. This is it's a very intense conversation because everybody has their own unique experience with their spouses or as the actual service member, or and everybody has their own opinion of what to expect out of just a relationship period. I'm
Right.
just gonna put it like that, as a spouse. um I knew what I was signing up for first and foremost. So I knew my place. I knew what my role was, and I know what my role is even now as a retired military spouse. Um, I still know that whenever I am on base, I am still expected to act accordingly. I'm still a representative of my husband.
Right.
And that's just anywhere without if I'm on base or not, but that's just in real life, period. Because I have been married for so long. I do have my own identity, but we have our joint respect for each other's professions and what we do, just like he acts accordingly based off of what I do and where I'm going and, so forth and so on. Just remember that we are in some rough times right now in general. There are things that are going on around us that are weighing heavily on everyone's spirit, and you may not even know it. Subliminally, messages are being thrown at you, and you're bringing in stuff. So be very cautious of the rooms that you go into, what you put inside your body, digest, ingest, listen to, and be very mindful of the words that you speak because they're very powerful. And just know to allow yourself some grace. And you never know what other people are going through. So don't be judgmental of others. Listen for understanding whenever you go into these rooms. Don't automatically assume that you know. Read the room whenever you walk in. But our saying, our mantra is what we live. And I have to say that this includes you. We live our life by this, that in a world full of negativity, that we choose love and love on purpose. And we apply that to every facet of our lives. And that's all I really have to say, is just choose love, love on purpose. And while we continue to have these discussions, especially with Veterans Day approaching this Monday, don't forget to say thank you to our service members that are now serving now, but also the ones that have previously served as well.
Absolutely.
You never know. Just open up a door. Just look at that hat. That person's wearing that cap that says, the USS Roosevelt, or whatever infantry unit that they were in, whatever boat that they served on, whatever squadron they came from. Look at it, read it, and just say thank you. That thank you goes a long way, especially for someone who has had to serve by themselves, did not have a family to come home to, no support system. Just a kind word, a smile, and just saying, thank you, sir. Thank you, ma'am. Goes a long way. Be kind to each other, especially now and going forward. That's all I have to say.
I appreciate it. So, Rose, Jade, I'm gonna drop you guys down, okay? Give me a second. I appreciate you guys being here. Thank you guys for your service. For everybody that came up and spoke about their story, thank you for sharing your story. Um, this was kind of emotional, but in a good way, because it was needed. The support was needed. I'm always here for the transparency of your story because that gives us a different perspective on life and the things that you've experienced. And I've always said, experience is your best teacher. I've always said it. I'm gonna keep saying it. Experience is your best teacher. And we'll never know what somebody's going through unless they vocalize it. And the fact that Jade being the first time she's ever vocalized her story was here with us where she felt safe. So now we know her experience. We know the things that she's dealt with. And now she can start her process. She can start her healing process. Now that she's released that out of her system because she needed to. It was important. It was necessary. So, Jade, I appreciate you for doing that. So I'm going to drop you guys down so we can close out. I appreciate you guys for coming up, okay?
Yes. Yeah, I'm ready to go down. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I enjoyed talking to you all and being here. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right, let's fix this layout real quick because I don't like being in the big box like this. Feels weird. I feel like I'm being watched.
You are being watched. You're watched very closely, like this.
Are we gonna do the breakdance contest now or what?
I don't know about that. My
I
body's,
can't do it right now.
listen, my body is in so much pain right now. I could barely move. So that is not happening. But no, honestly, if you guys haven't joined the MYM community, the Discord, we do have a Discord community that is available to all that is in their process of healing, in their process of growth, and want to experience the human experience of just a simple good morning. Because a lot of us don't experience that on our daily basis. But to see multiple people saying good morning and genuinely mean it, that's huge. That is huge. So if you're not a part of the community and you would like to join that, please message me, message Sweet Tea, let us know. Make sure you download the Discord app. It looks like a purple remote control. You download that app. Once you download that app, if you go to my profile and hit my link tree, you can copy that link and join the community. And just to show you how big the community is, if you are a part of the community, drop the number. Well, don't put the number 1. Write it out. Write out the number 1 in the chat if you are a part of the community.
That's the Grow Room host.
I think that's what I thought.
Yeah, it's only Grow Room host. Yeah.
We're gonna be safe about it.
I'm like,
Listen,
yeah.
and for you youngins, it's not a purple remote. It is a purple game remote controller, bro. All right.
I'm sorry. I didn't.
Not everybody plays Xbox, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Malcolm. That's how I'm calling you from now.
I love it. So we got, for all 33 people in here, you guys see all the number 1s in the chat. There's even a few more here. Coach Chris is here. Hormiga's a part of the community. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
Let's do a 30-second power tap so we can get the 45K, please.
Go ahead, guys. Go ahead, tap it away. I was going to add my tapper on here in a second, but, you know. And I've been sipping on this water this whole time. This water nice and cold.
Hey, another thing real quick. If anybody is ever interested in starting a business, and if anybody is interested in starting a nonprofit organization of any kind, hit us up. Hit us up. I specialize now in nonprofit organizations, how to start them, all the way from regular nonprofits to charitable contributions, all the way to foundations. So don't be afraid to ask questions. I will say that starting a nonprofit organization is not for everyone. Okay, so don't take that for granted that you're just going to get up one day and say, hey, I'm going to run a successful nonprofit organization. Great attitude to have, but let's be realistic. Okay, you do not know what goes into nonprofit organizations. It's a lot of work. It can be stressful. So, again, if you've learned anything from this live today, try to get as much information as possible before you get into anything.
Absolutely. Agreed 100%. I don't really have much of encouragement in words of encouragement because you guys took it all. I can't really say much. But what I am gonna say is just embrace and understand the dynamics of what our servicemen, our retirees, the spouses and the families go through on a daily basis. It's not for play. It's not nothing to joke around about. If you see somebody disrespecting the vet and you can say something about it, say something about it. If you see somebody disrespecting the spouse or family in regards to the vet, say something about it. Sitting idly by, allowing it to happen, you're also at fault for not saying something if you know that you respect veterans. Don't allow the disrespect. Don't allow the disrespect. Because they've done well enough for us to make sure that we are able to even have this type of platform, to be able to stand here and be able to have these type of conversations because of the effort and the work that they did for us to have our freedom. So, in a world full of negativity, make sure y'all choose love and love on purpose. Keep life simple. Love is the glue. Respect is the flavor. You dig, you dig, you dig. Make sure y'all live within your value, energy, and I pity the fool who doesn't mind their mental
Let's go.
energy, and I pity the fool who doesn't mind their mental
Let's go.